and they can see nobody. Hello, everybody. One of you. Hello, one of you. Um, we're waiting for a few more to jump in here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to show you a little bit of some waiting, short waiting video here. Well, welcome. We got a few more. Hey, well, welcome.
Yeah, we got 4.
Yeah, so let's let me get over here to the live chat and let everybody start saying hello as you come in here. Hello, everybody, and I do have someone special here with me. I've got
What?
Mr. Rich Rizzati.
Hola. Hello. Ciao.
You like the temporarily new look?
Oh, he's trying, folks. He's trying. He's
clean shaven for tonight.
Clean shaven. I haven't been clean shaven for I don't know how long.
The wife said, "Oh no, I've got a cherub in the house." I said, "Get me a bow and arrow and some wings, right?"
It looks like I have a split screen.
Yeah, it should be me on one side and you on the other.
No, it's like my image. I can be like Jekyll and Hyde. I got a dark side and a light side.
Is it up and down, or you might want to?
It's up and down.
Landscape it here, and it should self correct.
Nope, that didn't work. Nope, that didn't work. I got to do that. But yeah, it looks like there's a Jekyll and Hyde.
Well, certainly the viewers can see you. We got a few of them in here. And
what can be unburdened from what has been?
that is the question. Yeah.
We have the dark side of Rich and the light side of Rich.
That is not what the viewers see me, and they see you.
It's funny on the side.
So we got young Mr. Ryan Sellers. He's a good friend of ours. We have him in studio quite a bit. He asked if I shaved. Say what? Yeah. So this is for some upcoming skits that we got going on here soon to be taped. I have to look the part to be Trump, and I can't have.
Trump doesn't have a beard.
Oh, he's clean shaven, so I gotta look the part, and so I'll have to stay clean shaven for a few days so that I can get these skits filmed and try to look as much like Donald Trump as I can.
I'd be afraid if I shaved, Crystal would know what I look like.
If it wasn't for the fact that Laura pulled up this afternoon, coming home from work, and just seeing me sitting in my normal chair with my hat on, she'd probably be like, "Who is that chubby guy wearing Josh's hat of all things?"
Oh, we got 7 people now.
Yeah, If as you come in, guys, just say hello. Well, this is the portion for you guys. This is us to be able to talk to you guys, see what's going on with you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say, how you think things are going to go tonight.
I know what we should call it. Ask Revolver.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, let's call that.
There you go.
I don't have a singer for it yet, but we'll have to make one. My friend Danny says that
I like pizza.
Which I know you like pizza, Danny. As a matter of fact, we had some CC's earlier, and my stomach's still feeling it. So,
I mean, who doesn't like pizza? I mean, if you don't like pizza, you must be a liberal.
or just can't eat it anymore. But yeah,
yeah. Well, it says doesn't like.
Yeah,
there's a difference between I like,
I love
pizza,
but it doesn't love me back. we got more and more folks rolling in here. We're gonna have a good time tonight. I promise that we got a few memes coming your way. We got a few little video clips coming your way. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm just kind of waiting for. I like to hear from you guys. Like ask us anything. Ask us what you'd like us to talk about here tonight.
Why is Crystal calling me?
I don't know, but I'll chat it up with these folks here while you figure that out.
All right.
See you in a minute. Okay. So we'll have to wait for Mr. Rosati to come back on. Hopefully he'll be rejoining me with Crystal. I think, let me check my text messages here. Yeah, she didn't send me anything. So, okay. Everything good there? Oh, he was in and he was out. Okay. All right. So, I need your feedback. This is going to be something where you guys are going to have to participate absolutely right away. We're trying to figure out. We had technical difficulties last time trying to get the audio to work on our live stream for the video that we were watching. So let me know if you guys are able to hear this audio. I'm going to pull it up here, and we're going to see if you guys can hear it. And if you can hear it, as soon as I click the audio button over here, let me know. I don't think it's actually playing the audio. I'm not hearing it. Oh, there we go. All right.
Evening. And I want to bring in CBS News political correspondent Caitlin Huey
Can you guys hear
Burns.
the audio
Caitlin, former President Trump said he
from the
didn't do any
video feed?
formal practice before his debate.
You don't hear
you
do not hear the audio from the video feed now?
John, it has been very different than what Donald Trump's debate has been. JD Vance has been very much preparing for tonight in a variety of different ways.
Can you hear it? You can hear it now? Good. Right. I just had to make sure that it was being shared.
All right, I am back. Crystal is on her way home, and she will be joining the call.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I was testing out with the audience there whether or not our video feed was going to actually produce audio. Otherwise, I was gonna have to go back to the drawing board and figure it out.
And did it work?
Oh, sound was gone again. Huh. Let's see. Well, because I turned off the sound just now. Let's see here.
I think I need a lower one.
Points for Vance. He is underwater in terms of likability in our polling. Can he make that up tonight?
Can you hear it, Rich?
And he is also
Yeah, I can hear
as
it.
Donald Trump is,
Okay, well,
a
if you can hear it, then the
significant
audience
gender
will hear it.
gap with women overwhelmingly supporting Kamala Harris
Right.
and that ticket. So we will see.
Go ahead and mute that real quick and unpresent that so that we can get back to chit chatting here. Get back to the audience here. I'm not seeing there's quite a few people in here, but I just have a couple people that actually.
It's Ask Revolver.
Yeah, yeah. Certainly, we fixed the audio now. We've got it all. Got that all figured out. Thank you for participating in that, audience members. We want to keep asking you to participate throughout because we're going to be playing, like I said, little video clips, we're going to pull up some memes. As a matter of fact, if we're not getting any questions right this second, let's see what time we're looking at. We're at a quarter after. So we want to remind you guys that you can go to our website. So I'm actually going to pull that up.
And the website is revolverbroadcasting.com.
So that way you guys can see that.
That was my overspeak voice.
So you can actually go, just like Rich said, you can go to revolverbroadcasting.com and you'll see our website there. You can also see our, that right there is actually a feed from our Faith, Family, and Politics Instagram. If you scroll further down, you'll actually see our podcasts, shows like Faith, Family, and Politics, which I normally host this month of October. The women are taking over for October. So, as a matter of fact, the lady right there who hosts the agenda, Crystal Rosati, Rich knows her very well.
I might could know her. I might could have known her for 17 years now.
Yeah, just a little while. And we host the episode coming to you this Saturday. It'll be dropping for you guys to enjoy, and also make sure and check out her show, The Agenda. You also have
and sometimes you might have to watch them 2, 3, 4 times, because even though she don't look like it, she's a nerd. She is a big nerd. I mean, it is, the amount of receipts that she brings and the amount of research that she does is just, it's incredible. So
yeah, she fires it up for sure.
Oh boy, does she ever.
I know. Even producing on that show, I have to watch it a few times to get everything, taking notes and everything. We also have Danny Tippett's "It Makes Sense" podcast. Why Christian living makes the most sense in the world today, and I think you'll get a lot out of that. There's only a few episodes on there. We're hoping to get him back in the studio after the beginning of the year, and hopefully we'll get some new episodes out on that for you guys. We have the Laughing Libertarian with Alan McFarlane.
Comment.
As much as you can. Working out with Jesus Dudes, where you get both a spiritual and physical workout, and host Sterling. And Sterling does a great job with that. We're going to be relaunching some of those episodes here, new episodes here soon. And then we have a few shots, which is a lot like this other show, Revolver Reacts, where Revolver Reacts is about but mostly music videos and pop culture. But when it comes to specifically political reactions and things like that of the sort, we go to a few shots. So you guys will have something for everybody to enjoy. Also, if you click on shop, you get this amazing shop comes up here. Let me see if it'll switch tabs here on this presentation. There we go.
Oh, there it is.
And now you guys can see our shop. Now, if you go to our shop, you'll actually see the new Cat Lives Matter T-shirt that's available, Mutts for Trump, and the Don't Chew on Me shirt. And I'm a big fan of this Don't Chew on Me shirt. It's
because they're eating the dogs and eating the cats.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Let's see if it'll go back here. Yep. Okay. And then we have the real ghost.
We had a feral cat in Indianapolis at our house about 6 weeks ago. I wonder what happened to the cat.
Oh, do you have any Haitian neighbors?
I don't know.
A while back, they said that JD Vance is weird. We have the GOP is weird.
Yeah. Hey, I'd rather be weird than like a clueless and cackling Kamala. That's for sure.
For sure. We also have the Trumpomania T-shirt. Make sure you get 2 or 3 of those. Christmas is coming up, so you guys can enjoy all these. And then we also have the Donald Trump. It says DJT stand, but that's the only way I can get it through the filter on our provider here. But it's we call it the Trump fight shirt, because Trump is just after being nearly assassinated, puts his fist up in the air and says fight, fight, fight. So we had the fight shirt, and quite a few more for you guys to enjoy, including the revolver shirt, which Rich is proudly wearing.
Whoop 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 whoop.
You can also get the revolver hot shot hat, just like the one I'm wearing, right here in the shop. They're all available now, and they're getting faster at producing. Our provider is getting faster at producing those out. So we're really thankful that they are getting better at what they do. Let's see here. Oh, I was going to pull up the news chambers as well.
Daniel got new shoes.
That is an ongoing joke between him and I.
Who's winning now, Daniel or you?
Yeah, Daniel. He consistently is winning that joke. But yeah, if you're on our website, if you click on news chambers, you'll actually go through and see a lot of really great devotionals written by our good friend Danny Tippett. You'll see some news articles for me, some assertions for me, and a poem. I also wrote a poem. So lots of things for you to enjoy. I'll be coming out with more news articles and things all the time. So make sure you guys are going over to revolverbroadcasting.com and clicking on all the things we have to enjoy on our website. And always remember to subscribe to our content, like our content, comment on our content, and share our content, because what is it, Rich?
Because sharing is caring. Even in Detroit, it works. I mean, it's amazing. It's like
so
it follows me.
He's so magical, folks. He's got
I know what Sterling would be saying right now.
no. I would love to have him on tonight, but he's got some unfortunate events going on right now. And for those of you who pray, please pray for Sterling.
Yes.
We'll probably have to go back through these memes when Crystal gets back on, if we have time before everything kicks off with the stream here. But I've got just a few I'd like to share with you, Rich, while we're.
You go right ahead. I got nothing to do till I go to bed.
So I'm gonna share this meme. Oh, well, where'd it go? There it goes. Okay, so we have Angry Walz Halloween costume. You can get it now at your local Spirit Halloween store. It includes fraudulent cash, a crime report, a Vax card, and 2 cloth masks. For your
wait, no tampon.
Actually, let me. Yes, it does. It comes with the Tampon Tim's special edition. Tampon.
There we go. Okay.
And if you act now, you'll actually get the brand new PopCon Harris Walz special edition Tampon Tim.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die.
It's a specialty series that they've come out with here, the Tampon Tim. And if you look real closely here on his jacket, it's Nash Chun Nogard, but it's spelled Nashunalgard.
Oh, Nash. Oh, that is funny.
We're gonna have to make that into an ad, I think. Just put all those together, just that way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clip that just for you, Rick.
Oh.
Isn't
that like the teacher from
yeah, so I found out that he looked exactly like Mr. Garrison from South Park, because that's what that. And yeah, so that's my handiwork there.
That's nice.
Danny wants to know what's on our minds. Well, Rich had to.
Sorry, I don't know if it's the Detroit air or what, but I've been having to wipe my nose. So my apologies. What is on my mind?
Yeah.
I'm scared is actually what's on. I'm sure you've all heard there's some pretty big news today. I mean, Israel, got bombed by Iran. 190 missiles or so, and then you've got, and it kind of affects my business, the seaports, the land or the dock workers went on strike today. So I mean, it's just like not only do I feel bad for Israel, and could this escalate us to unfortunately WW3 with everything that's going on with Iran, but then all of a sudden not only do we have unfortunately all the people from Florida all the way up needing supplies, right? And now you've got dock workers not wanting to work. And I don't know if people realize how much they're wanting a 77% raise over the next 6 years. The offer was 50%. That was the last contract, and they denied that. And I'm like, 77% over the next 6 years. Let's see, 6 times 12 is 70. So that's a 12% plus every year.
That's a lot of nuts.
I'm like, I mean, so it's
Most of us
it's
are lucky
just-
to get like a couple nickels.
yeah, it's the what? Typically it's like a 3% raise, but that's pretty much just because of the cost of living and all that. But I mean, I'm just scared about the supply. The supply chain is really going to be affected. And again, I feel bad for all of those people that are going through, and I'm going to guess probably 90 to 95% probably didn't have flood insurance, because who would need it in Atlanta?
Well, and yet another hurricane is actually tearing through, I guess. I don't know if it was changing direction or not. I hadn't been able to keep complete tabs on it there.
So,
unfortunately,
so
CBS,
Daniel, yeah, that's what's on my mind.
there's a lot to think about right now. And, I'd say if you guys are watching right now, you're watching this very little channel right now. you're gonna get some inside track of what's coming. Exactly what Rich just said. These are the things that have been planned for a very long time. Actually, it's not just Democrats, but they are definitely a part of it.
Mhm.
But what's happening out here right now is they plan on not having an election. They plan on having such a big emergency or layers of emergencies that they cannot hold an election.
Yeah.
Guess who gets to stay in power if they don't have an election?
Well, it won't be Biden because he'll probably step down.
No, but then you'll
Right.
have whoever
Who's in line? Who's next?
Lion Kamala.
Yep.
So you have her, and then you have, well, I guess, I mean, technically Speaker automatically becomes vice. I'm not sure how that because it's an emergency situation. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would be.
Yeah, things would get manipulated just so that Speaker does not become VP, though. Guarantee that. Whatever they can do to make sure that they stay in power. That's the plan. That's been a plan for a very long time. Now, I'm not saying that they're controlling the weather, because the weather just it happens. But this other stuff going on with the missiles and stuff, the Obama administration gave a whole lot of money to Iran. If people remember, the Obama administration gave a whole lot of money to Iran. Trump shut that down, and then Biden turned around and gave it right back to him. They didn't have money. They were going broke. Folks.
Yep. So so I was looking at the current order of a succession. Okay. So let's say there is no election, right? Biden's just going to want to step down. He's like, they're already pushing me out. I'll step down.
Yeah.
And so then Kamala would then be the vice, she would move up to president. And then, yes, the Speaker of the House is technically the second in line, which is Mike Johnson. He's a Republican. But then you've got the president pro tempore of the Senate, which is Patty Murray. So, and then of course, then you got Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken. Oh boy.
So things
Secretary.
I think things would get manipulated just so that, that they, not only do they stay in power, but that Mike Johnson would definitely not become, would not let him be VP. But these are things that they have planned for a very long time. That's why they've, when I say they, I don't mean the Democrats. I mean, there are some people within the globe. There's some very nefarious people out there. And that's as far as I can, because we're on YouTube as well. So there are specific people. When I say they, if you know, But these people they're the ones that have orchestrated the attacks on Trump, the assassination attempts on Trump. It's not just willy-nilly people are upset and they're happening to do it because, yes, rhetoric may have been a part of that, but they were driven, but they just need that little nudge. And guess where that nudge came from? And it came from the outside. It was like, oh, you can go do this. You can go do this. So they've set things up. Luckily, by the grace of God, Trump has been able to get this far, and hopefully I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I really want to be wrong, because I want to see a Trump presidency. I really do, but I hope I'm wrong. So yeah, I guess paired up with Rich, that's also what's on my mind. If we may go back to the memes, because let's see where we're at on time. We're at 8:30. So
we got.
Yeah, speaking of globalist elites here, we've got let me get back into this. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? You ever heard of George Soros? Well, his eldest son, Alex Soros, is going to be taking over soon enough.
Oh, geez.
And everything will be handed over to Alex. Now, what happens with Alex Soros when Alex Soros takes over? Well, it's the next generation of manipulation in the globalist elite, and their agendas are going to be brought to fruition by that money. But Tim Walz, the guy who's going to be debating tonight against JD Vance, was just recently in a meeting with Alex Soros. I wonder what they talk about.
Gee, Mr. Obvious, I never made the connection.
Right? If you know, you know, guys, about Mr. Obvious. But yeah, so it just seems kind of funny to me that out here we have Tim Walz meeting with Alex Soros. And I was just discussing the globalist elite and their powers and how much money they pour into all these things. You know that this money is going to the Democrat Party, not just through Act Blue, but they're dumping some mega dollars into this. That's why all the media, that's why all of the television channels you turn it to, they like Harris. They don't like Trump, right? Every station you turn to, every time you turn it to a Netflix special, every time you turn it to even if you're on the streaming services, they're all doing the same thing, right? It's a little project called Project Mockingbird, and so they're all told to say the same things, to support the same things, and they're given a whole lot of cash to do it. The Soros family is just one of many sources that these people have to do that with, but it's also an old government program, and they call it a program for a reason, because it's programming you, right? It's programming you to a different school of thought, and that's why so many people have cognitive dissonance, and that's why they don't know why they hate Trump. They just know they do, right? Well, because they've been told to do so.
And it's funny. I mean, back when he was a Democrat, boy, Oprah and him were best of friends.
Yeah, thick as thieves, weren't they?
I mean, and again, I may not like, I will, Trump can come across as brash. Okay. Okay. I mean, do I like everybody that I work with? No. Can I work with them? Are they professional enough that they know what they're doing and they can get the job done? Yes.
Hey, that's all I'm asking for is if
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had, talked to somebody earlier this week, and they're like, yeah, I just don't like Trump. I'm like, okay, what don't you like about him? Well, he talks this and he talks that and he talks this. And I said, okay. I says, but, what specifically about his presidency did you not like? Well, he talked this, he talked that, he talked mean, talked this. And I went, But again, what of his presidency did you not like? And they couldn't come up with anything.
They never can. That's the problem.
No.
They never have anything to say. Well, this is why they make generalizations. They say, oh, he's racist. Okay, well then, what makes you say that? Where's the proof?
Yep.
Show me why you think that. Because a lot of times, if they do say anything, they say, "Oh, the very fine people on both sides." That's the old. It's been debunked so many times, and I know that it drives Trump specifically crazy when he has to hear the word debunked, because it's like, you shouldn't have to debunk something you said when there's videotape of it where he says, "And I don't mean the neo-Nazis or the white."
Yeah,
he specifically calls them out and says, "I don't mean them," but they still. I mean, even Kamala. Even after we fact checked Biden back in the first presidential debate, the second Kamala said it again, and talk about the tiki torches and all this other bullogna. But something else I saw that was really funny here. I'll have to show you this too. Let's see here. Where's that? I think this is coincidence, right? That's the young lady that. Yeah. I think he's got an illegitimate child out there. Do you think?
Oh my gosh!
I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure if he is if she's his, but I mean,
that's pretty darn close. Oh my gosh! I don't think I can make my.
I guess if yeah, I can't do it either. I can't make that face. That. There's just no way. It's a very Tim Walz like face. And then this was sent to me. I like this one. This is hi, I'm Tim Walz, which this guy has more hair than Tim Walz, but we're,
yeah.
He says, "I'm here to refill the tampon dispenser in the men's room."
Oh my gosh.
And then, did you see the movie coming out here soon? It's the new Dumb and Dumber.
And you can switch those two. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I heard that East Coast come out of you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sometimes I park the car.
Tim Walz is also he's from Minnesota. They said he was a coach, but it turns out that those were just Friday Night Lies.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
And then at his own state fair in Minnesota, the Minnesota State Fair, someone actually made this. They made a booth. The Never Walz.
The Never Walz.
Booth.
That's great.
Yeah, this wonderful booth. Great booth.
I saw something on Fox News that he exaggerated something.
He exaggerated the fact that he was a coach because he was an assistant to the assistant coach.
But there was something about like he had gone somewhere 30 times and really come to find out he only gone there like 10 or something like that.
Yeah, he's pretty good at the old lie machine, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, it was the China. That's what it was. He had gone to China like 30 times.
Oh, China 30 times.
I don't know if I'd be promoting that.
Well, since we got a few minutes to knock out here before we get in, we're still waiting on Crystal to join us. I think we're gonna enjoy the stand-up comedy stylings. I can't remember his first name, but I know the guy's last name is Dunn. I ran across him on the internet. He was commentating on the assassination attempt. Anyway, let's see if I can get it to play here.
All the conspiracy theories come out around it too. I don't know what to believe. All I do know is that if our government tried to do an assassination attempt, that's kind of how it would look. Right? It was very inefficient. That was the DMV of assassination attempts. That was not good. They had a very small budget, you could tell. They wanted to do it with a grassy knoll at a parade like they were used to. They're like, we can't swing that. We got to do a tin roof at a town fair. That's all we got. Can't get any ex-military people to take the shot. Let's get the kid who came in last place on his marksman team. That apparently high schools have marksman teams. I've never tried it. Dude, that was just one big government block of cheese. Like, that's all that was. It was insane. I was hoping Trump was going to come out the same day, ear still bleeding, and do the press conference. They tried to shoot me! They tried to shoot me. They were too slow, and I'm too fast. I dodged the bullet. They didn't even see it.
Gosh, you do it better, Trump.
I saw it coming from so far away. It was like the Matrix. It was all in slow motion. Call me Neo. I'm the chosen one. They say he was a Republican. That's what they'll tell you. They'll say he was a Republican that shot, but I'll tell you right now, he shoots like a liberal. I'll tell you that. He shoots like a liberal. Not straight. So not straight. They said it was a fake bullet. That's what they said. It was a real bullet. We found the bullets. Turns out the bullets, they were made in China. That's where they were made. They were little teeny tiny Chinese bullets. So small, so tiny. I shot the guy back. They cut the cameras. They didn't show you that. It was me who shot him. I pulled out my Glock and I shot him right in the fucking face. That's what I did. It's crazy.
So yeah, that's Mr. Dunn there. I can't, like I said, I can't remember his first name, but I ran across him. I downloaded that little clip of me. It had me dying laughing. I watched it 5-6 times. And I was like, okay, I've got to share that on the live stream.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I discovered that on Twitter. Yeah, that somebody had shared that, or X now. I guess it's formerly Twitter, right? Formerly Twitter. It's X. Yeah,
X marks the spot.
See if anybody here's in the live chat. Anybody else? What do you guys think of Mr. Dunn there and his comedy stylings? Did you like that? Did you like that stand-up comedy there? We're gearing up. We got about 18 minutes to go before we get into the debate. The debate starts at 9 p.m.
So the question is, do you think they're going to shake hands?
Maybe. I've got a.
Who are the moderators? Do they know?
It's CBS. So let me get this sent over to Crystal. She just said she doesn't have the link, so I've got to.
What?
Yeah,
it was in the email.
I made sure that her email was in there, but I'm gonna
I have to have a little talk with her.
see if I can get it to her in Messenger right now. I assume she has Messenger on that tablet she uses, right?
I don't know.
Hopefully it works. Yeah, I sent it there before, so looks like, yeah, there we go. I've sent it once more. And then, okay. Yeah, so we're waiting on her. It looks like we got a handful of people. She's responding to me there. See if I can find another video for folks to enjoy. Let's see if she's trying real hard to get on. I need it emailed. Okay, so Which email? I sent to the wrong one. I must have sent it to the wrong one.
Oh, you probably sent it to her.
Don't dox her here.
I would never.
Then I've got to go back into email. These are the woes of doing this live stream, guys. Sometimes we just have to roll with the punches that we're given. That happens. But
Roll with the punches. Roll around. Oh, wait.
okay. There we go. And then copy the invite link and now it's sent to her. Oh, she said, never mind, after I went through.
Now can I doctor? Oh God, I love her.
Oh my. There she is.
Where?
Audio.
Hey, there she is.
She's as soon as her camera comes on and her audio comes on, she should pop right into the screen here with us. Hopefully.
Trying.
Yeah. Ah, there she is.
Hey.
Hey, I made it. And there's my guy
Where?
right here.
Looking for himself. Look in the mirror, Ed.
Are you crying? You're laughing so hard before I joined. What I missed?
Yes.
I was play-by-playing with the live stream. Everybody knows exactly what was happening while I was trying to send it to you. And
And then all of a sudden, never mind.
I just typed it in. I was like, I can just type it in. It's fine.
So welcome. Got some good news to share with you later, Crystal. So stick around after the stream is over if you can. I got some news.
Okay.
I want to share here. We got some good news to share with you.
Yay! I like good news.
Right? Who doesn't? I was sharing some memes with Rich before you come on, and then also shared a stand-up comedy video clip. I don't know if you caught any of that. I'm sure that we'll have a chance to play it again. That's probably actually, I think it'd be the best way to leave out tonight. Is let that play as we head out tonight at the end of the stream. So at the end of the stream, if you guys missed the stand-up comedy clip of Mr. Dunn there, we'll save that to the end of the stream so you guys can watch it once more because it's just really funny. He's talking about the folly that was the assassination attempt, and it had to have been an inside job because only the government could screw it up that bad.
That's absolutely true. That's so true. Oh gosh, I forgot my drink.
Uh-oh.
Glad I could remind you.
Yeah.
I got mine too.
Sorry I was late.
This is just sweet tea for the people watching out there, though. It's not nothing. This is just sweet tea.
Just sweet tea.
Good old sweet tea.
This is
Holy
vanilla
cow.
cream soda.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to post on Facebook for this join us. And I put the link you sent me, and that's not the link I want.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll have all kinds of people joining us.
I know. I swear I'll get here. I promise I'll get here eventually.
Let him share.
So,
He's gone.
so do I have a link I can share, Josh?
Yeah. So actually, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can copy that. And can I send it to you in Messenger, or do I need to send that to the email? What would be
No,
best?
send it to me in Messenger. I'm just going to copy and paste it on Facebook
Okay, cool. Yeah.
so we can get some people joining. The reason I caught it is because it's like super long.
Actually, if you were to go
Super
to
long.
if you're on Facebook, if you go to the Revolver page, you can just share the link from there too, because I've got it already posted there.
Oh, okay. I'll just do that.
So either way.
Gosh, I love her.
While you work on sharing it, I'm going to go ahead and show why Walz is inept. I'm going to show this little video clip. This is actual Minnesotians showing why Walz is inept.
Welcome to the race, Tim Walz. Let's make sure America knows who you are. You helped ignite the George Floyd riots, the worst the country had ever seen in decades. While Minneapolis burned, you stalled on deployment of the National Guard for an entire day, blaming the city.
Sorry, wrong clip. Okay.
But I like that one because we just watched V for Vendetta.
Just watched.
Yeah,
yes.
I just watched it
Again.
myself too. We will get to that one. I want to show this one first. This one is the actual one. That's Remember November is what it's called. Remember November, which is ironic because the other one is the inept Walz. But yeah, that's Remember November.
Clear, over 80% of our students miss less than 10 days of in-class learning.
I won't forget when you illegally banned physicians from prescribing medications for early treatment, fracturing the doctor-patient relationship.
I will never forget being forced out of my job at the VA of 20 years because of the vaccine mandates.
I won't forget when you decided which businesses were essential and which ones weren't.
You shut down stores, malls, zoos, everything, and we couldn't even go outside.
I will remember when you sent COVID positive patients back to the nursing homes and you chose not to send them to the Bethesda COVID hospital. People died alone.
I won't forget to vote in November.
I will never forget how you closed our churches but left the liquor stores open.
I will remember how you promised us data on masks and you never showed the data.
My child can't wear a mask and I had to pull him from school.
And I remember how you divided us.
People rioted and burnt our cities, and we were not allowed to gather with our families.
I will remember in November.
We won't forget in November.
I will never forget how you abandoned the most vulnerable Minnesotans by shutting down day programs for disabled adults.
I remember when you blamed Minnesotans when your mitigation strategies failed.
I will remember in November.
You put a limit on people who could come over to your house for Thanksgiving. I will never wear a mask again.
I will never forget what you did to me and my friends. I will never wear a mask again.
Governor Walz, we are not your one Minnesota. We are real Minnesotans who are worried about our future. And we will remember in November.
Nice.
Right?
Remember the 5th of November.
Josh,
Exactly.
we got a problem because I'm clicking on even the link on Revolver Broadcasting and all it's doing is bringing me up the chat.
It's bringing you the chat?
Yeah. Taking me directly to chat. Can somebody check it?
Yeah, let me I'll keep an eye out here. I'm gonna hop over to Facebook. You guys chat amongst yourselves while I look this up here. Keep the folks entertained.
Well, it's my husband, so I'm going to talk to him, but I haven't seen him today at all or yesterday afternoon, and I'll see him tomorrow night because he's not here with me. He is out of town.
I am out of town. I am in the wonderful Detroit, Michigan.
The wonderful Detroit, huh?
I could hop, skip, and jump, and I'd be in Canada.
Yeah, well, I think you need to hop, skip, and jump back to Indiana. I'm just saying.
That's Facebook censorship going on there.
Is it doing it to you too?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Good thing you caught that.
Facebook censorship, folks.
Of course they are.
but we have our ways around this.
Yay.
We'll just
We
share the
have our
YouTube link
ways.
for our YouTubers out there, and hopefully that will bypass their systems. Look at me giving away the plan before I do the plan.
Take that, NSA.
I mean, they're probably listening, so
Probably. We do that all the time with our devices, don't we, babe?
Yes, we do. Yeah,
We say what
we'll
we say, and then we're like,
Yep.
what do you think? How about that, CIA?
Yep.
FBI? Take your pick.
and I think I found.
So Josh, after we had watched A V for Vendetta, and wow, I mean, I know I've seen the movie many times, and just everything that they're talking about, like, wow.
It's just going to have to be what it is because I can't get even the YouTube link won't work. But yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah, and I was like, again, depending on what happens, because, and we had talked, and it was like, wait, the election is when? November 5th this year.
Yep. It lines right up.
Remember.
Yep. And so, the poem, we could change it a little. Remember the 5th of November, the election treason, the election interference, treason, and plot. I see no reason why election interference, treason should ever be forgot.
It was stolen, just like Tim Walz's valor.
But his tampon stayed.
Yeah,
they were firm.
On the commercial break, I'll have to share some of those memes with you, Crystal. We'll have to show you those. While we still have a couple minutes here, I'm going to show you the inept Walz. Since we're on the Vias for Vendetta thing, anonymous sharing this on X recently.
Welcome to the race, Tim Walz. Let's make sure America knows who you are. You helped ignite the George Floyd riots, the worst the country had ever seen in decades. While Minneapolis burned, you stalled on deployment of the National Guard for an entire day, blaming the city for not submitting the right paperwork. You let your daughter leak the Guard's deployment plans online so that rioters would know how long they had to loot the city with impunity. Minneapolis is a war zone because of you. Just days after the attempted murder of Donald Trump, you called him and his supporters fascists, egging on the same rhetoric that led him to being shot in the first place. You have overseen some of the most radical youth trans surgery laws in the country. Under your leadership, teenagers can get their breasts chopped off and get sterilized, and your government calls it health care. You have the most radical abortion laws in the country. 0 limits. Every year, 5 to 6 babies are born alive and then murdered legally under laws you support. On immigration, you famously said you wanted to provide a ladder so invaders can come over Trump's wall. You are a radical open border zealot. Also during COVID, you approved $500 million in hero pay for frontline workers, only to have 40% of that money go to people who were ineligible or, in many cases, literally deceased. In the White House, you were Pelosi's sidekick and did whatever the Democrats demanded. You will try to disguise yourself as a folksy Midwestern moderate. In reality, you are a white male version of Kamala Harris, radical, inept, undeserving to be in leadership.
Nice.
Right, so that should spell it out for some of those silly Tim Walz fans out there thinking he's just the good old Mr. Midwestern coach. And the video I could not get a hold of because I just cannot find it. There is a video clip of during COVID, they had a curfew in Minnesota, implemented by Tim Walz, and he would send the police officers out on the streets at night with high-powered paintball guns. And if you were found out after curfew, police officers would shoot you with the paintballs. And there's a video clip, if I can find the video clip, because it was on Steven Crowder. I've had the video clip before. I somehow deleted it. I need to go back and find it again. If I find it again, it will go up, and we'll do a few shots episode on it. Maybe you can join me on that one, Crystal, and we could talk about it because this this is the kind of things that that were happening that they want to deny. They want you to memory hole it and forget.
Yeah.
The guys are stepping out on stage now. So they're looks like they're writing some stuff on some note cards. So I guess they did allow them to have notes. Folks are getting their pictures and stuff in here. So
I was able to share it, Josh, by the way.
you were?
I had to go to Rumble and copy the link, and then I could paste it into a post on Facebook. Just FYI.
Okay.
And I
So-
tested it and it came up here, so.
So I don't know if y'all saw this, but Trump,
he's doing a play-by-play too. That's why we.
well, he did a GoFundMe page launched by the campaign for the people in Georgia, and they've already raised $1 million.
He also went down there and did some aid.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead.
Biden
and
might go
We've got
on
7
Thursday.
seconds. If I didn't have responsibilities here, I'd go with you.
No, I was saying Biden said he might go on Thursday.
Oh, Biden said he might go on
Democratic Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota and
You guys hear it?
Republican Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio. Now, this is likely the final debate of this election cycle, and voting is already underway in 20 states. CBS News polling shows this remains a race either presidential candidate could win. The CBS News vice presidential debate starts now.
Fight for every single vote, and we're going to take this country back.
And we are ready to continue to build the future together.
We're going to turn this whole
He didn't build
country
anything
around
now.
with President Donald J. Trump's leadership.
You know what's at the end of this little journey?
He built a container in the boys' bathroom.
Yeah, that's what he did build.
This is a CBS News special, live from CBS News headquarters in New York. America Decides, the vice presidential debate.
But does America really decide? Let's hope so.
Good evening. I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for joining us for tonight's CBS News vice presidential debate. We want to welcome our viewers on CBS, on other networks here in the U.S. and around the world. We have a consequential night ahead, and our focus is the issues that matter to you, the voter. Let's introduce the candidates. Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz and Ohio's Republican Senator J.D. Vance tonight meeting for the first time.
Some latency going on here for me.
I'm Margaret Brennan. In order to have a
Well, they did
thoughtful
shake.
and civil debate, these are the rules that both campaigns have agreed to. Questions will be directed at one candidate who will have 2 minutes to respond. The other candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for rebuttal. Then each candidate will get another minute to make further points, with an additional 1 minute each at the discretion of the moderator. The primary role of the moderators is to facilitate the debate between the candidates, enforce the rules, and provide the candidates with the opportunity to fact-check claims made by each other. CBS News reserves the right to mute the candidates' microphones to maintain decorum. We have not shared the questions or topics with the campaigns.
Right.
The stage
Okay.
is set. Governor, Senator, thank you for joining us. Let's get started. Tonight, our country is facing several unfolding crises. The Middle East is on the brink of war. Americans are suffering from the catastrophic impact of Hurricane Helene, and now a labor strike as 25,000 dock workers from Maine to Texas are picketing. We're going to begin tonight with the Middle East. Margaret. Thank you, Nora. Earlier today, Iran launched its largest attack yet on Israel, but that attack failed, thanks to joint U.S. and Israeli defensive action. President Biden has deployed more than 40,000 U.S. military personnel and assets to that region over the past year to try to prevent a regional war. Iran is weakened, but the U.S. still considers it the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and it has drastically reduced the time it would take to develop a nuclear weapon. It is down now to 1 or 2 weeks' time. Governor Walz, if you were the final voice in the Situation Room, would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. And thank you for those joining at home tonight. Let's keep in mind where this started. October 7th, Hamas terrorists massacred over 1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the expansion of Israel and its proxies is an absolute fundamental necessity for the United States to have the steady leadership there. You saw it experienced today, where along with our Israeli partners and our coalition, able to stop the incoming attack. But what's fundamental here is that steady leadership is going to matter. It's clear, and the world saw it on that debate stage a few weeks ago. A nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump talking about crowd sizes is not what we need in this moment. But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump.
Say what you're going to do.
Understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous.
Yeah.
His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And
What
both
does
of
this
his
have anything to
secretaries
do
of
with-
defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Now, the person closest to them, Donald Trump, said he's unfit for the highest office. That was Senator Vance. What we've seen out of Vice President Harris is we've seen steady leadership. We've seen a calmness that is able to draw on the coalitions to bring them together. Understanding that our allies matter.
Consistently laugh
When
and
our
prove nothing and
allies
say
see
about the lies.
Donald Trump turn towards Vladimir Putin, turn towards North Korea, when we start to see that type of fickleness around holding the coalitions together, we will stay committed. And as the vice president said today we will protect our forces and our allied forces, and there will be consequences.
Governor, your time is up. Senator Vance,
I love
the same
JD's
question.
expression.
Would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
So, Margaret, I want to answer the question. First of all, thanks, Governor. Thanks to CBS for hosting the debate. And thanks, most importantly, to the American people who are watching this evening and caring enough about this country to pay attention to this vice presidential debate. I want to answer the question, but I want to actually give an introduction to myself a little bit because I recognize a lot of Americans don't know who either one of us are. I was raised in a working class family. My mother required food assistance for periods of her life. My grandmother required Social Security help to raise me. And she raised me in part because my own mother struggled with addiction for a big chunk of my early life. I went to college on the GI Bill after I enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in Iraq. And so I stand here asking to be your vice president with extraordinary gratitude for this country, for the American dream that made it possible for me to live my dreams. And most importantly, I know that a lot of you are worried about the chaos in the world and the feeling that the American dream is unattainable. I want to try to convince you tonight over the next 90 minutes that if we get better leadership in the White House, if we get Donald Trump back in the White House, the American dream is going to be attainable once again. Now, to answer this particular question, we have to remember that as much as Governor Walz just accused Donald Trump of being an agent of chaos, Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world, and he did it by establishing effective deterrence. People were afraid of stepping out of line. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion in unfrozen assets thanks to the Kamala Harris administration. What do they use that money for? They use it to buy weapons that they're now launching against our allies, and God forbid, potentially launching against the United States as well. Donald Trump recognized that for people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength. They needed to recognize that if they got out of line, the United States global leadership would put stability and peace back in the world. Now, you asked about a preemptive strike, Margaret, and I want to answer the question. Look, it is up to Israel what they think they need to do to keep their country safe, and we should support our allies wherever they are when they're fighting the bad guys. I think that's the right approach to take with the Israel question.
So
thank you, Senator.
He answered
Governor
the question.
Walz, do you care to respond to any of the allegations?
Well, look, Donald Trump was in office. We'll sometimes hear revisionist history, but when Donald Trump was in office, it was Donald Trump who we had a coalition of nations that had boxed Iran's nuclear program in, the inability to advance it. Donald Trump pulled that program and put nothing else in its place. So Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than they were before because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership. And when Iran shot down an American aircraft in international airspace, Donald Trump tweeted, because that's the standard diplomacy of Donald Trump. And when Iranian missiles did fall near U.S. troops and they received traumatic brain injuries, Donald Trump wrote it off as headaches. Look, our allies understand that Donald Trump is fickle. He will go to whoever has the most flattery or where it makes sense to him. Steady leadership like you witnessed today, like you witnessed in April. Both Iranian attacks were repelled.
Who are you
Our
talking to,
coalition
me?
is strong, and we need the steady leadership that Kamala Harris is providing.
I know.
Senator Vance,
I know, I'm reading
the
it.
U.S. did have a diplomatic deal with Iran to temporarily pause parts of its nuclear program, and President Trump did exit that deal. He recently said, just 5 days ago, the U.S. must now make a diplomatic deal with Iran because the consequences are impossible. Did he make a mistake? You have 1 minute.
Well, first of all, Margaret, diplomacy is not a dirty word, but I think that's something that Governor Walz just said is quite extraordinary. You yourself just said Iran is as close to a nuclear weapon today as they have ever been. And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump. Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Donald Trump consistently made the world more secure. Now, we talk about what, the sequence of events that led us to where we are right now, and you can't ignore October the 7th, which I appreciate Governor Walz bringing up. But when did Iran and Hamas and their proxies attack Israel? It was during the administration of Kamala Harris. So Governor Walz can criticize Donald Trump's tweets, but effective, smart diplomacy and peace through strength is how you bring stability back to a very broken world. Donald Trump has already done it once before. Ask yourself at home, when was the last time, I'm 40 years old, when was the last time that an American president didn't have a major conflict break out? The only answer is during the 4 years that Donald Trump was president.
No new wars.
Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to. Nora? Margaret, thank you. Let's turn now to Hurricane Helene. The storm could become one of the deadliest on record. More than 160 people are dead and hundreds more are missing. Scientists say climate change makes these hurricanes larger, stronger, and more deadly because of the historic rainfall. Senator Vance, according to CBS News polling, 7 in 10 Americans and more than 60% of Republicans under the age of 45 favor the U.S. taking steps to try and reduce climate change. Senator, what responsibility would the Trump administration have to try and reduce the impact of climate change? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Sure. So first of all, let's start with the hurricane because it's an unbelievable, unspeakable human tragedy. I just saw today actually a photograph of 2 grandparents on a roof with a 6-year-old child. And it was the last photograph ever taken of them because the roof collapsed and those innocent people lost their lives. And I'm sure Governor Walz joins me in saying our hearts go out to those innocent people. Our prayers go out to them. And we want as robust and aggressive as a federal response as we can get to save as many lives as possible. And then, of course, afterwards, to help the people in those communities rebuild. I mean, these are communities that I love. Some of them I know very personally in Appalachia, all across the Southeast. They need their government to do their job. And I commit that when Donald Trump is president again, the government will put the citizens of this country first when they suffer from a disaster. And Nora, you asked about climate change. I think this is a very important issue. Look, a lot of people are justifiably worried about all these crazy weather patterns. I think it's important for us, first of all, to say, Donald Trump and I support clean air, clean water. We want the environment to be cleaner and safer. But one of the things that I've noticed some of our Democratic friends talking a lot about is a concern about carbon emissions, this idea that carbon emissions drives all of the climate change. Well, let's just say that's true, just for the sake of argument, so we're not arguing about weird science. Let's just say that's true. Well, if you believe that, what would you want to do? The answer is that you'd want to reshore as much American manufacturing as possible, and you'd want to produce as much energy as possible in the United States of America because we're the cleanest economy in the entire world. What have Kamala Harris's policies actually led to? More energy production in China, more manufacturing overseas, more doing business in some of the dirtiest parts of the entire world. And when I say that, I mean the amount of carbon emissions they're doing per unit of economic output. So if we actually care about getting cleaner air and cleaner water, the best thing to do is to double down and invest in American workers and the American people. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris has done exactly the opposite.
Governor Walz, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, we got close to an agreement because all those things are happening. Look, first of all, it is a horrific tragedy with this hurricane. And my heart goes out to the folks that are down there in contact with the governors. I serve as co-chair of the Council of Governors as we work together on these emergency managements. Governors
Yeah,
know
think
no
about that for a
partisanship.
second,
They work
didn't he?
together to so all
Yeah.
the governors and the emergency responders are on the ground.
Oh, crap, I
Those
gotta
happen
call
on the
Bobby.
front end. The federal government comes in, makes sure they're there to that we recover, but we're still in that phase where we need to make sure that they're staying there, staying focused. Now, look, coming back to the climate change issue, there's no doubt this thing roared onto the scene faster and stronger than anything we've seen. Senator Vance has said that there's a climate problem in the past. Donald Trump called it a hoax and then joked that these things would make more beachfront property to be able to invest in. What we've seen out of the Harris administration now, the Biden-Harris administration, is we've seen this investment. We've seen massive investments, the biggest in global history that we've seen in the Inflation Reduction Act, has created jobs all across the country. 2,000 in Jeffersonville, Ohio, taking the EV technology that we invented and
yet
making
it
it here.
didn't reduce the
200,000 jobs across the country. The largest solar manufacturing plant in North America sits in Minnesota.
So-
but my farmers know climate change is real.
Rattle
They've seen
back all the
500-year
plants
droughts,
that are closing their
500-year
EV
floods back to back. But
Yeah.
what they're doing is
manufacturing
adapting, and
because
this has
nobody
allowed
wants
them
them.
to tell me, look, I harvest corn, I harvest soybean, and I harvest wind. We are producing more natural gas and more oil at any time than we ever have. We're also
You're producing a lot
more
of natural
clean
gas.
energy. So the solution for us is to continue to move forward that climate change is real. Reducing our impact
I
is
bet he farts
absolutely
a lot.
critical, but this is not a false choice. You can do that at the same time you're creating
Methane.
the jobs that we're seeing all
Methane.
across the country. That's exactly what this
Methane, Tim.
administration has done. We are seeing us becoming an energy superpower for the future, not just the current. And that's what absolutely makes sense. And then we start thinking about how do we mitigate these disasters?
Thank you. Senator, I want to give you an opportunity to respond there. The governor mentioned that President Trump has called climate change a hoax. Do you agree?
Well, look, what the president has said is that if the Democrats, in particular Kamala Harris and her leadership, if they really believe that climate change is serious, what they would be doing is more manufacturing and more energy production in the United States of America, and that's not what they're doing. So clearly, Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe her own rhetoric on this. If she did, she would actually agree with Donald Trump's energy policies. Now, something Governor Walz said I think is important to touch upon, because when we talk about clean energy, I think that's a slogan that often the Democrats will use here. I'm talking, of course, about the Democratic leadership. And the real issue is that if you're spending hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars of American taxpayer money on solar panels that are made in China, number one, you're going to make the economy dirtier. We should be making more of those solar panels here in the United States of America. Some of them are, Tim, but a lot of them are being made overseas in
Wait,
China,
I thought he was supposed to
especially
be
the components
muted.
that go into those solar panels. So if you really want to
That's what I
make
said.
the environment cleaner, you've got to invest in more energy
They
production.
lied. We
We
got
haven't built a
them right
nuclear
here.
facility, I think, one in the past 40 years.
Senator.
Natural gas, we got to invest more in it. Kamala Harris has done the opposite. That's raised energy prices and also meant that we're doing
Senator,
worse by
your
the
time
climate.
is up. Governor, would you like to respond?
Well, look, we're producing more natural gas than we ever have. There's no moratorium on that. We're producing more oil, but the folks know, and like I said again, these are not
Hi,
liberal
Journey.
folks. These are not folks that are Green
My
New Deal
microphone.
folks. These are farmers that have been drought one year, massive flooding the next year. They understand that it makes sense. Look, our number one export cannot be topsoil from erosion from these massive storms. We saw it in Minnesota this summer. And thinking about how do we respond to that, we're thinking ahead on this. And what Kamala Harris has been able to do in Minnesota, we're starting to weatherproof some of these things. The infrastructure law that was passed allows us to
Weatherproof
think
the
about
soil?
mitigation in the future. How do we make sure that we're protecting by burying our power lines? How do we make sure that we're protecting lakefronts and things that we're
How do you
seeing more and
weatherproof
more
the
of?
soil?
But to call it a hoax
I don't know.
and to take the oil company executives
blankets
to
on
Mar-a-Lago, say,
Rhino
give me money
lining.
for my campaign, and I'll let you do whatever you
We're
want.
going to rhino
We can
line
be
the
smarter
entire
about that.
land.
And an all-above energy policy is exactly what she's doing,
Got a
creating
big
those jobs
weather
right here.
tech.
Really big
Governor, your
cans of
time
Flex
is up.
Seal.
The overwhelming
really big
consensus
cans
among
of Flex
scientists
Seal.
is that the Earth's climate is warming at an unprecedented rate. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora. We're going to turn now to immigration. The crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border consistently ranks as one of the top issues for American voters. Senator Vance, your campaign is pledging to carry out the largest mass deportation plan in American history and to use the U.S. military to do so. Could you be more specific about exactly how this will work? For example, would you deport parents who have entered the U.S. illegally and separate them from any of their children who were born on U.S. soil? You have 2 minutes.
So first of all, Margaret, before we talk about deportations, we have to stop the bleeding. We have a historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies. 94 executive orders suspending deportations, decriminalizing illegal aliens, massively increasing the asylum fraud that exists in our system. That has opened the floodgates. And what it's meant is that a lot of fentanyl is coming into our country. I had a mother who struggled with opioid addiction and has gotten clean. I don't want people who are struggling with addiction to be deprived of their second chance because Kamala Harris let in fentanyl into our communities at record levels. So you've got to stop the bleeding. You've got to re-implement Donald Trump's border policies, build the wall, re-implement deportations. And that gets me to your point, Margaret, about what do we actually do? So we've got 25 million illegal aliens who are here in the country. What do we do with them? I think the first thing that we do is we start with the criminal migrants. About 1 million of those people have committed some form of crime in addition to crossing the border illegally. I think you start with deportations on those folks. And then I think you make it harder for illegal aliens to undercut the wages of American workers. A lot of people will go home if they can't work for less than minimum wage in our own country. And by the way, that'll be really good for our workers who just want to earn a fair wage for doing a good day's work. And the final point, Margaret, is you ask about family separation. Right now in this country, Margaret, we have 320,000 children that the Department of Homeland Security has effectively lost. Some of them have been sex trafficked. Some of them hopefully are at homes with their families. Some of them have been used as drug trafficking mules. The real family separation policy in this country is unfortunately Kamala Harris's wide open southern border. And I'd ask my fellow Americans to remember when she came into office, she said she was going to do this. Real leadership would be saying, you know what, I screwed up. We're going to go back to Donald Trump's border policies. I wish that she would do that. It would be good for all of us.
So many mic drop moments.
Governor,
Yes.
do you care to respond to any of the specific allegations, including that the vice president is, quote, letting
That's
in
my guy.
fentanyl
Really great.
and
Really
using kids
fantastic.
as drug mules,
Well, I
among
picked him.
other things
Yeah,
regarding
well,
children?
The drug mule is not true, but I will say about this, about the fentanyl, because this
very
is a
true,
crisis
sir.
of this, the opioid
Everything
crisis.
else
And the
is,
good
but
news
not
on this
that.
is the last 12 months saw the largest decrease in opioid deaths in our nation's history. 30% decrease in Ohio, but there's still more work to do. But let's go back to this on immigration. Kamala Harris was the attorney general of the largest state, a border state in California.
Here we
She's the
go.
only person in this race who prosecuted transnational gangs for human trafficking and drug interventions. But look, we all want to
let him back
solve
out
it. Most of us want to solve this. And that is the United States Congress. That's the Border Patrol agents. That's the Chamber of Commerce. That's most Americans out here. That's why we had the fairest and the toughest bill on immigration that this nation's seen. It
Call
was
it out,
crafted
JD.
by a conservative senator
Rich,
from
you have a
Oklahoma,
comment
James
on that.
Langford. I know him. He's super conservative.
I'm
He's a
sorry,
man of
I'm what?
principle, wants to get it
You
done.
have a comment
Democrats
on
and
the border
Republicans
bill.
worked on this piece of legislation.
Yes,
The
I
Border
read the
Patrol
border
said
bill.
this is what we need in here. These are the experts.
It
And the
says
Chamber of Commerce and the
nothing
Wall Street Journal said, pass
about
this thing.
the
Kamala Harris
additional,
helped get there. 1,500 new border agents.
border agents. Nothing.
Protection for drugs. DOJ money to speed up these the adjudications on this, just what America wants. But as soon as I was getting ready to pass and actually
money
tackle this,
went to
Donald
everything
Trump
but
said no.
the border.
Told them to vote against it
I think
because it
98% of the
gives
bill
him
went
a
to it.
campaign issue.
Read the
It
bill,
gives him to,
folks.
what would Donald
Yep,
Trump talk
read the
about if
bill.
we actually
Please,
did some of these
go
things? And
read
they
the bill.
need to be
Google
done
it.
by the legislature. You can't just
And
do
read the
this through
bill.
the executive
Go to the
branch.
source.
So look, we have the options to do this. Donald Trump had 4 years. He had 4 years to do this. And he promised you, America, how easy it would be. I'll build you a big, beautiful wall, and Mexico will pay for it.
And the
Less than
Democrats
2% of
blocking
that
every
wall
step
got
of
built,
the way.
and Mexico didn't pay a dime. But here we are again, 9
Mexico was
years
paying
after he
the
came
money.
down that escalator, dehumanizing
Stay in
people
Mexico.
and telling them what he was going to do. As far as the deportation plan, at one point, Senator Vance said it was so unworkable to be laughable. So that's where we're at. Pass the bill, she'll sign it.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, the question was, will you separate parents from their children, even if their kids are U.S. citizens? You have 1 minute.
Margaret, my point is that we already have massive child separations thanks to Kamala Harris's open border. And I didn't accuse Kamala Harris of inviting drug mules. I said that she enabled the Mexican drug cartels to operate freely in this country. And we know that they use children as drug mules, and it is a disgrace, and it has to stop. Look, I think what Tim said just doesn't pass the smell test. For 3 years, Kamala Harris went out bragging that she was going to undo Donald Trump's border policy. She did exactly that. We had a record number of illegal crossings. We had a record number of fentanyl coming into our country. And now that she's running for president, or a few months before, she says that somehow she got religion and cared a lot about a piece of legislation. The only thing that she did when she became the vice president, when she became the appointed border czar, was to undo 94 Donald Trump executive actions that opened the border. This problem is leading to massive problems in the United States of America. Parents who can't afford health care, schools that are overwhelmed. It's got to stop, and it will when Donald Trump is president again.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, what about our CBS News polling, which does show that a majority of Americans, more than 50%, support mass deportations?
Look, we fix this issue with a bill that is necessary, but the issue on this is
why do you need a bill?
Out on the bill.
You demonize it. And we saw this. And Senator Vance, and it surprises me on this, talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield.
Friday Night Lives.
The Republican governor said, it's not true. Don't do it. There's consequences for this. There's consequences. We could come together. Senator Langford did it. We could come together and solve this if we didn't let Donald Trump continue to make it an issue. And the consequences in Springfield were the governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners to school. I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this, but by standing with Donald Trump and not working together to find a solution, it becomes a talking point. And when it becomes a talking point like this, we dehumanize and villainize other human beings.
Oh, sorry.
Tim.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, I'll give you 1 minute, but let me just ask you the question first. The governor has made the point, and I think as a sitting lawmaker, you know that Congress controls the purse strings and any funding. So you have said repeatedly that Donald Trump would, through executive action, solve this. Do you disagree that Congress controls the purse strings and would need to support many of the changes that you would actually want to implement? You have 1 minute.
Look, Margaret, first of all, the gross majority of what we need to do at the southern border is just empowering law enforcement to do their job. I've been to the southern border more than our border czar, Kamala Harris, has been, and it's actually heartbreaking because the Border Patrol agents, they just want to be empowered to do their job. Of course, additional resources would help, but most of this is about the president and the vice president empowering our law enforcement to say, if you try to come across the border illegally, you've got to stay in Mexico, you've got to go back through proper channels. Now, Governor Walz brought up the community of Springfield, and he's very worried about the things that I've said in Springfield. Look, in Springfield, Ohio, and in communities all across this country, you've got schools that are overwhelmed. You've got hospitals that are overwhelmed. You have got housing that is totally unaffordable because we brought in millions of illegal immigrants to compete with Americans for scarce homes. The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border. It is a disgrace, Tim. And I actually think, I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, you have 1 minute to respond.
It is law enforcement that asked for the bill. They helped craft it. They're the ones that supported it. That's because they know we need to do this. Look, this issue of continuing to bring this up, of not dealing with it, of blaming migrants for everything. On housing, we could talk a little bit about Wall Street speculators buying up housing and making them less affordable, but it becomes a blame. Look, this bill also gives the money necessary to adjudicate. I agree. It should not take 7 years for an asylum claim to be done. This bill gets it done in 90 days. Then you start to make a difference in this, and you start to adhere to what we know, American principles.
They just want to process more people through. It has nothing to do with closing out the
talks
border.
about to the least amongst us you do unto me. I think that's true of most Americans. They simply want order to it. This bill does it. It's funded. It's supported by the people who do it, and it lets us keep our dignity about how we treat other people.
Our dignity.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status.
They're eating the
temporary
dogs.
protected
They're
status.
eating the cats.
Nora?
but
Thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret,
Thank
I
you,
think it's
Nora.
important
We're
because
going to turn now to the
debate-
economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules
got
were
one.
that
The
you guys
economy,
weren't going to
we're-
fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say
Oh,
what's actually
nice.
going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That
Thank
is
you,
the
Senator.
facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by
Thank
our
you,
own
Senator, for
leadership.
describing the legal process.
Kamala-
We have
Kamala
so much
Harris
to get
opened up
to,
that
Senator.
pathway.
Those
We have
laws
so
have been on
much-
the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
We
CBP
want to have-
One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
They shut his
Gentlemen,
mic off.
The audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process. Nora?
Thank you, Margaret. The economy is a top concern for voters.
I'm glad
Each of
he
your
said,
campaigns
well, if you're
has
going to
released
fact
an
check
economic
me, I'm
plan.
going to
So let's
fact
talk
check
about
you.
the specifics. Governor Walz, Vice President Harris unveiled a plan that includes billions in tax credits for manufacturing,
tables right around,
housing,
didn't
and a renewed child tax credit. The Wharton School says your proposals will increase the nation's deficit by $1.2 trillion. How would you pay for that without ballooning the deficit? Governor, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. And
Taxes.
Kamala Harris and I do believe in the
All the
middle class
taxes.
because that's where we come from. We both grew up in that. We understand. So those of you out there
Yeah.
listening tonight, you're hearing a lot of stuff back and forth, and it's good. It's healthy. That's what this is supposed to happen. You should be listening. How's this going to impact me? The bold forward plan that Kamala Harris put out there is talking about this housing issue. The one thing is there's 3 million new houses proposed under this plan with down payment assistance on the front end to get you in a house. A house is much more than just an asset to be traded somewhere. It's foundational to where you're at. And then making sure that the things you buy every day, whether they be prescription drugs or other things, that there's fairness in that. Look, the $35 insulin is a good thing, but it costs $5 to make insulin. They were charging $800 before this law went into effect. As far as the housing goes, I've seen it in Minnesota. 12% more houses in Minneapolis, prices went down on rent 4%. It's working. And then making sure tax cuts go to the middle class. $6,000 child tax credit, we have one in Minnesota, reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We save money in the long run, and we do the right thing
So
for
we're not
families.
working.
And then getting businesses off the ground. The
Childhood
law as
poverty.
it stands right now is $5,000 tax credit for small business, increasing that to $50,000. Now, this is a philosophical difference between us. Donald Trump made a promise, and I'll give you this. He kept it. He took folks to Mar-a-Lago, said, you're rich as hell, I'm going to give you a tax cut. He gave the tax cuts that predominantly went to the top
did
pass.
that.
What happened
That
there
whole thing
was
was taken
an
out of
$8
context.
trillion increase in the national debt, the largest ever. Now he's proposing a 20% consumption or sales tax on everything we bring in. Everyone agrees, including businesses, it would be
Really counterpunch on this
destabilizing it. It would increase inflation and potentially lead to a recession. Look, this is simple for you. Where are we going? Kamala Harris has said to do the things she wants to do. We'll just ask
Is
the
it just
wealthiest to
me,
pay their
or
fair
do both
share.
of these guys
When you
look-
do that,
What is fair
our system
share,
works
Tim?
best. More
I
people
hate
are
when they
participating
say
in it,
that.
and
It
folks have
gets
the
under
things
my
that they
skin.
need.
It's very
Senator, I want to give you a
juvenile.
moment to respond on that. But
Little kid.
similarly, the Wharton
I think
School
it
has
makes
done an
sense. I want more
analysis of the
candy.
Trump plan and says it would increase the nation's deficit by $5.8 trillion. My question is the same for you. How do you pay for all that without ballooning the deficit? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, you're going to hear a lot from Tim Walz this evening, and you just heard it in the answer. A lot of what Kamala Harris proposes to do, and some of it, I'll be honest with you, it even sounds pretty good. Here's what you won't hear, is that Kamala Harris has already done it. Because she's been the vice president for 3.5 years. She had the opportunity to enact all of these great policies. And what she's actually done instead is drive the cost of food higher by 25%, drive the cost of housing higher by about 60%, open the American southern border and make middle-class life unaffordable for a large number of Americans. If Kamala Harris has such great plans for how to address middle-class problems, then she ought to do them now. Not when asking for a promotion, but in the job the American people gave her 3.5 years ago. And the fact that she isn't tells you a lot about how much you can trust her actual plans. Now, Donald Trump's economic plan is not just a plan, but it's also a record. A lot of those same economists attack Donald Trump's plans, and they have PhDs, but they don't have common sense and they don't have wisdom. Because Donald Trump's economic policies delivered the highest take-home pay in a generation in this country, 1.5% inflation, and to boot, peace and security all over the world. So when people say that Donald Trump's economic plan doesn't make sense, I say look at the record. He delivered rising take-home pay for American workers. Now, Tim admirably
Josh, you have charts that show that, don't you?
Trump tax cuts. But if you look at what was so different about Donald Trump's
you
tax
have
cuts,
charts
even
that
from
show the
previous
difference
Republican tax cut
between
plans, is
Trump
that a lot of those resources went to giving more take-home pay to middle class and working class Americans. It was passed in 2017, and you saw an American economic boom unlike we've seen in a generation in this country. That is a record that I'm proud to run on, and we're going to get back to that common sense wisdom so that you can afford to live the American dream again. I know a lot of you are struggling. I know a lot of you are worried about paying the bills. It's going to stop when Donald Trump brings back common sense to this country.
Governor, do you want to respond to that? What has Kamala Harris done for the middle class?
Yeah, well, Kamala Harris's day one was Donald Trump's failure on COVID that led to the collapse of our economy. We were already before COVID in a manufacturing recession, but 10 million people out of work, largest percentage since the Great Depression. 9 million jobs closed on that. That was day one. Whether it was the Infrastructure Act or other things we moved. Now,
it's because your Fauci said we have to.
I've made a note of this. Economists can't be trusted. Science can't be trusted. National security folks can't be trusted. Look, if you're going to be president, you don't have all the answers. Donald Trump believes he does. My pro tip of the day is this. If you need heart surgery, listen to the people at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, not Donald Trump. And the same thing goes with this. And I ask you out there, teachers, nurses, truck drivers, or whatever, how is it fair that you're paying your taxes every year and Donald Trump hasn't paid any federal tax in the last 15 years and the last year as president? That's what's wrong with the system. There's a way around it, and he's bragged about that. We're just asking for fairness in it, and that's all you want.
You have a minute.
He didn't
Governor,
take a paycheck either when he was in office.
But those same experts for
Just
40
saying.
years said that if we shipped our manufacturing base off to China, we'd get cheaper goods. They lied about that. They said if we shipped our industrial base off to other countries, to Mexico and elsewhere, it would make the middle class stronger. They were wrong about that. They were wrong about the idea that if we made America less self-reliant, less productive in our own nation, that it would somehow make us better off, and they were wrong about it. And for the first time in a generation, Donald Trump had the wisdom and the courage to say to that bipartisan consensus, we're not doing it anymore. We're bringing American manufacturing back. We're unleashing American energy. We're going to make more of our own stuff. And this isn't just an economic issue. And I've got 3 beautiful little kids at home, 7, 4, and 2, and I love them very much, and I hope they're in bed right now. But look, so many of the drugs, the pharmaceuticals that we put in the bodies of our children are manufactured by nations that hate us. This has to stop. And we're not going to stop it by listening to experts. We're going to stop it by listening to common sense wisdom, which is what Donald Trump governed on.
Senator, your time is up. Governor Walz, can you address that? I mean, voters say they trust Donald Trump on the economy.
He gets time to rebuttal.
Why?
If you're listening tonight and you want billionaires to get tax cuts, you heard what the numbers were. Look, I'm a union guy on this. I'm not a guy who wanted to ship things overseas, but I understand that, look,
you did.
We produce soybeans and corn. We need to have fair trading partners. That's something that we believe in. I think
but the union doesn't represent.
Most concerns me on this is Donald Trump was the guy who created the largest trade deficit in American history with China. So the rhetoric is good. Much of what the senator said right there, I'm in agreement with him on this. I watched it happen too. I watched it to my communities, and we talked about that. But we had people undercutting the right to collectively bargain. We had right to work states made it more difficult. We had companies that were willing to ship it over, and we saw people profit. Folks that are venture capital in some cases, putting money into companies that were overseas. We're in agreement that we bring those home. The issue is Donald Trump is talking about it. Kamala Harris has a record, 250,000 more manufacturing jobs just out of the IRA.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
So appreciate that. So if you notice, what Governor Walz just did is he said, first of all, Donald Trump has to listen to the experts. And then when he acknowledged that the experts screwed up, he said, well, Donald Trump didn't do nearly as good of a job as the statistics
that's a
show
gross generalization.
that he did. So what
Wait,
Tim
I
Walz
thought
is
your
doing,
mic was supposed to be shut
honestly,
off.
Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table in our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
I hope we have a conversation on healthcare then.
Senator, Governor.
Please.
Thank you. Margaret?
We have a lot to get to ahead, gentlemen, on many topics. But right now, I want to talk about personal qualifications. The vice president is often the last voice the president hears before making consequential decisions. We want to ask you about your leadership qualities. Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska.
While he yammers on for a second, I just want to say this real quick.
Town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
But
it's
I joined
faint,
the National
but
Guard
we
at
can hear
17.
Yeah,
Worked on family farm,
and
then I
better?
used the GI Bill
Yeah.
to become a teacher.
So,
passionate about it.
I
A
pulled up
young
the
teacher.
teachers.org.
My
I
first year
went
out,
to
I got
their
the opportunity in the summer of
percentages.
'89 to travel to
59.6%
China.
of Teamsters
35 years ago, be able to do that.
voted
I
to
came back
endorse
home
Trump. Only
and then
34%
started a
Harris.
program to take young people there. We
independent.
would take
So-
basketball
We were
teams.
just talking about
we would
that
take
at dinner
baseball
tonight
teams, we would
because the
take
union
dancers,
leaders
and we would go back and forth
endorse
to
Harris,
China.
but the
issue
union
for that
members
was to
don't.
try and learn. Now, look,
Yeah, so
my
it's
community
just
knows who
the
I
upper
am.
brass, right?
They saw
The
where I
people
was
that
at.
get all the
They-
money.
Look, I
Yeah.
will be the first to tell
almost
you,
like that's
I have
just the
poured
opposite
my
of what,
heart into my community.
Walz just
I've
said.
tried to do the
Yeah.
best I can,
So
but I've
I
not
just
been
wanted to pull
perfect.
that up real
And I'm a
quick and
knucklehead at
fact-check you.
times, but it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for
He's a
12 years.
knucklehead.
And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan
His
people.
head looks like a
working
knuckle.
on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice.
Yep.
So look,
Just like that.
my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right.
You
will
went there
say
for your
more than anything,
Minnesotans.
many times
Yeah.
I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of
I have a feeling
Congress,
he was a
those are
terrible
the
teacher.
things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the
No, just-
discrepancy?
All I said on this was, I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in
Governor,
Hong
please,
Kong
we've got a
and
lot to
China
get to. Shut up.
during the democracy protests
Yeah.
went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what
Governor,
needed to be in
shut up.
governance.
We got to get a lot to get to.
Thank you, Governor.
He can have all
Senator
kinds of plans
Vance,
to just stumble
in
everything.
2016, you called your running mate Donald Trump unfit for the nation's highest office, and you said he could be America's Hitler. I know you've been asked many times, and you've said you regret those comments and explained you then voted for Donald Trump in 2020. But the Washington Post reported new messages last week in which you also disparaged Trump's economic record while he was president, writing to someone in 2020, quote, Trump thoroughly failed to deliver his economic populism. You're now his running mate, and you've shifted many of your policy stances to align with his. If you become vice president, why should Americans trust that you will give Donald Trump the advice he needs to hear and not just the advice he wants to hear? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Margaret, because I've always been open. And sometimes, of course, I've disagreed with the president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that I was wrong about Donald Trump. I was wrong, first of all, because I believed some of the media stories that turned out to be dishonest fabrications of his record. But most importantly, Donald Trump delivered for the American people. Rising wages, rising take-home pay, an economy that worked for normal Americans, a secure southern border, a lot of things, frankly, that I didn't think he'd be able to deliver on. And yeah, when you screw up, when you misspeak, when you get something wrong and you change your mind, you ought to be honest with the American people about it. It's one of the reasons, Margaret, why I've done so many interviews, is because I think it's important to actually explain to the American people where I come down on the issues and what changed. Now, you pointed out the messages from 2020. Margaret, I've been extremely consistent that I think there were a lot of things that we could have done better in the Trump administration the first round if Congress was doing its job. I strongly believe, and I've been a United States senator, that Congress is not just a high-class debating society. It's not just a forum for senators and congressmen to whine about problems. It's a forum to govern. So there were a lot of things on the border, on tariffs, for example, where I think that we could have done so much more if the Republican Congress and the Democrats in Congress had been a little bit better about how they govern the country. They were so obsessed with impeaching Donald Trump, they couldn't actually govern. And I want to talk about this tariff issue in particular, Margaret, because Tim just accused this of being a national sales tax. Look, the one thing, and you're probably surprised to hear me praising Joe Biden, but the one thing that Joe Biden did is he continued some of the Trump tariffs that protected American manufacturing jobs. And it's the one issue, the most pro-worker part of the Biden administration, it's the one issue where Kamala Harris has run away from Joe Biden's record. Think about this. If you're trying to employ slave laborers in China at $3 a day, you're going to do that and undercut the wages of American workers unless our country stands up for itself and says, you're not accessing our markets unless you're paying middle-class Americans a fair wage.
Senator, your time is up. Nora?
Thank you.
No, he finished
now to the issue
before.
of reproductive rights. Governor Walz,
Perfectly
after
said,
Roe
Tony.
versus Wade was overturned, you signed a bill into law
I
that
thought it
made
was
Minnesota one
interesting
of the
that
least
they
restrictive
didn't go back and
states
ask
in the
him.
nation when it comes to
Can you
abortion.
go back and answer the question?
Former
Because he
President
did answer the
Trump
question.
said in the last debate that you believe abortion, quote, in the 9th month is absolutely fine. Yes or no? Is that what you support? I'll give you 2 minutes.
That's not what the bill says, but look, this issue
Oh,
is
but it
what's
is.
on everyone's mind. Donald Trump put this all into motion. He brags about how great it was that he put the judges in and overturned Roe versus Wade. 52 years of personal autonomy.
Give it back to the states.
And then he tells us, oh, we send it to the states. It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Amanda
Yeah.
Jaworski would disagree with you on it's a beautiful thing. A young bride in Texas waiting for their child at 18 weeks. She has a complication, a tear in the membrane. She needs to go in. The medical care at that point needs to be decided by the doctor. And that would have been an abortion. That would have put them in legal jeopardy.
It's not an
She went
abortion,
home,
it's a
got
DNC.
sepsis, nearly dies, and now she may have difficulty having children.
Yeah, they
Or
had those
in
abortion
Kentucky,
trailers
Hadley
right outside
Duvall,
the DNC.
A 12-year-old child
Yeah.
raped and
Not only
impregnated
that,
by her
but
stepfather.
one of the people he brought up,
Those
she
are
was late
horrific.
to her.
Now,
her,
when God asked about
abortion,
that, Senator Vance said two
in Georgia,
wrongs don't
she was
make a
late.
right.
They
There
gave
is
her
no
medication.
right in this. So in
They gave her
Minnesota,
medication
what we did
because she was late.
restore
because they
Roe
couldn't give her
versus
the
Wade.
actual abortion.
We made sure that
She
we
drove anywhere between
women
2 and 4
in
hours
charge
away
of their health care. But
and
look,
still died
this is not where, if you don't know
because
Amanda
they tried to do.
or a Hadley,
She
you
was late for
soon
that
will.
too.
Their Project
So she
2025
died.
is
It
going to
could
have
be
a
easily avoided
registry of pregnancies.
if
It's going to make
things
it
would
more
have been done
difficult, if not
correctly and she just wasn't
impossible,
late. It has nothing
to
to
get
do with
contraception
policies.
and limit
Project
access, if not
20.
eliminate
It's all about
access to infertility treatments.
all
For so
about
many of you out there
rhetoric
listening, me
and their-
included,
their
infertility
need
treatments
to
are why I
pull
have a
on your
child.
heartstrings. It has nothing
That's
to do with
nobody
heartstrings.
else's business.
Yeah.
But those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is,
It's not that
well,
child's
the
fault.
states will
The
decide
question
what's
is
right for
it a
Texas
baby or
might not
not?
be right for Washington.
That's right.
That's not how this
Doesn't
works.
matter the
This is
circumstances.
basic human right.
Is it a
We
baby
have seen
or is it not a baby?
maternal mortality
And at conception,
skyrocket in
it is a
Texas,
baby. And if you don't,
outpacing many other countries in the
line.
world. This is
Pull up
about
any
health care. In
developmental chart.
Minnesota,
Pull up
we
any
are ranked
developmental
first
chart.
in healthcare for a
They're readily
reason.
available
We trust
online.
women. We trust doctors.
Senator, do you want to respond to the governor's
I don't
claim?
know
Will
why
you
we are
create a
aborting
federal
puppies.
pregnancy monitoring agency?
No, Nora,
Right?
certainly
So,
we won't.
I went
But
to
want talk
Project
about this issue because I know
2025
a lot of Americans care about it, and I
page.
know a lot of Americans don't agree
And the first thing it
with
says,
everything
Project
that I've ever said on this
2025
topic.
is an
And,
effort
you know,
by the
I grew up in
Heritage
a working class
Foundation,
family in a
not
neighborhood where I knew a lot of
Donald
young women
Trump.
who had unplanned
It's all
pregnancies
caps.
and decided to terminate those
It's right
pregnancies
there,
because they
folks.
feel like they didn't have
Go
any
to
other options. And,
project2025.org.
you know, I one of them is actually very dear to me.
It's right
and
there.
I know she's watching
One
tonight.
of the founders
and
of
I love
that
you.
that wrote it.
And she told me something a couple
endorsed
years
Harris.
ago that she felt like if she hadn't had that abortion, that it would have destroyed her life because she was in an abusive relationship.
Almost like there
And I
was a
think that what I
conspiracy
take from
there.
that as a Republican who
Almost.
proudly wants to protect innocent life in this country, who proudly wants to protect the vulnerable, is that my party, we've got to do so much better of a job at earning the American people's trust back on this issue where they frankly just don't trust us. And I think that's one of the things that Donald Trump and I are endeavoring to do. I want us as a Republican Party to be pro-family in the fullest sense of the word. I want us to support fertility treatments. I want us to make it easier for moms to afford to have babies. I want it to make it easier for young families to afford a home so they can afford a place to raise that family. And I think there's so much that we can do on the public policy front just to give women more options. Now, of course, Donald Trump has been very clear that on the abortion policy specifically, that we have a big country and it's diverse. And California has a different viewpoint on this than Georgia. Georgia has a different viewpoint from Arizona. And the proper way to handle this, as messy as democracy sometimes is to let voters make these decisions, let the individual states make their abortion policy. And I think that's what makes the most sense in a very big, a very diverse, and let's be honest, sometimes a very, very messy and divided country.
It's almost like the power belongs to
answer the
the
question
people.
about restrictions.
Yeah, well, the question got asked, and Donald Trump made the accusation that wasn't true about Minnesota. Well, let me tell you about this idea that there's diverse states. There's a young woman named Amber Thurman. She happened to be in Georgia, a restrictive state. Because of that, she had to travel a long distance to North Carolina to try and get her care. Amber Thurman died in that journey back and forth. The fact of the matter is, how can we as a nation say that your life and your rights, as basic as the right to control your own body, is determined on geography? There's a very real chance, had Amber Thurman lived in Minnesota, she would be alive today. That's why the restoration of Roe versus Wade. When you listen to Vice President Harris talk about this subject, and you hear me talk about it,
over
you hear us
this
talking
woman,
exactly the same.
but
Donald
not the
Trump
baby.
is trying to figure out how to get the political right of
Not only
this.
that, but
I agree with a
once
lot of
again,
what Senator Vance
your
says about what's
heartstrings,
happening. His
your
running mate, though,
emotions.
does not, and that's the problem.
It's
Governor,
all
your time is
about
up.
the
Senator, let me ask you
emotions.
about that. He mentioned, it was, I think, referring to a national ban. In the past, you have supported a federal ban on abortion after 15 weeks. In fact, you said if someone can't support legislation like that, quote, you are making the United States the most barbaric pro-abortion regime anywhere in the entire world. My question is, why have you changed your position?
Well, Nora, first of all, I never supported a national ban. I did when I was running for Senate in 2022 talk about setting some minimum national standard. For example, we have a partial birth abortion ban in place in this country at the federal level. I don't think anybody's trying to get rid of that, or at least I hope not, though I know that Democrats have taken a very radical pro-abortion stance. But Nora, one of the things that changed is in the state of Ohio, we had a referendum in 2023, and the people of Ohio voted overwhelmingly, by the way, against my position. And I think that what I learned from that, Nora, is that we've got to do a better job at winning back people's trust. So many young women would love to have families. So many young women also see an unplanned pregnancy as something that's going to destroy their livelihood, destroy their education, destroy their relationships. And we have got to earn people's trust back. And that's why Donald Trump and I are committed to pursuing pro-family policies, making childcare more accessible, making fertility treatments more accessible, because we've got to do a better job at that. And that's what real leadership is.
Governor, your response.
I'm going to respond on the pro-abortion piece of that. No, we're not. We're pro-women. We're pro-freedom to make your own choice. We know what the implications are to not be that. Women having miscarriages, women not getting the care, physicians feeling like they may be
I heard him say, screw the babies. We only want
and as far as making sure that we're educating our children and giving them options, Minnesota's a state with one of the lowest teen pregnancy rates.
The life that's growing.
We understand that too. We know that the options need to be available, and we make that true. We also make it, we're a top 3 state
for a moment
for the best place to raise children. But these two things, to try and say that we're pro-children, but we don't like this, or you guys are pro-abortion, that's not the case at all. We are pro-freedoms for women to make their choices, and we're going, and Kamala Harris is making the case, to make options for children more affordable, a $6,000 child tax credit, but we're not going to base that on the back of making someone like Amber Thurman.
only if they're born.
To try and get
yeah, if they're lucky enough to make it out of the womb and be out walking around for at least a couple weeks.
Be alive, and there are a lot of people who should still be alive, and I certainly wish that she was. And maybe you're free to disagree with me on this and explain this to me. But as I read the Minnesota law that you signed into law, the statute that you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched late-term abortion. That is, I think,
That's
whether
not
you're
true.
pro-choice or
That's not how the law
pro-abortion,
is.
that is fundamentally barbaric. And that's why I use that word, Nora, is because some of what we've seen, do you want to force Catholic hospitals to perform abortions against their will? Because Kamala Harris has supported suing Catholic nuns to violate their freedom of conscience.
Nice.
We can be a big and diverse country where we respect people's freedom of conscience and make the country more pro-baby and pro-family. But please.
Yes, Governor, please respond.
Look, this is one where there's always something there. This is a very simple proposition. These are women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions, and the
It's not- it's two
physicians
lives,
who know
not
best
one.
when they need to do this.
Yeah.
Trying to distort
It is
the way
two
a law
lives,
is
not
written
one.
to try and make a point, that's not it at
What
all.
was I wrong
This
about,
was-
Governor? Please tell me. What was I
that,
wrong
that is
about?
not the way the law is written. Look, I've given
But
this,
how?
I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, getting engaged, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last debate. But the point on this is there's a continuation of these guys to try and tell women or to get involved. I use this line on this, just mind your own business on this. Things worked best when Roe versus Wade was in place. When we do a restoration of Roe,
Did
that
they?
works best. That doesn't preclude us
They work best
from
for who?
increasing funding for children. It doesn't increase us from making sure that once that child's born, like in Minnesota, they get meals, they get early childhood education, they get health care. So the hiding behind we're going to do all these other things when you're not proposing them in your budget. Kamala Harris is proposing them. She's proposing all those things to make life easier for families.
I asked a specific question, Governor. You gave me a slogan as a response.
It's not the case. It's not true. That's not what the law says. So they fact-checked it with President Trump.
Gentlemen, there's a lot to discuss. We have to move on, and we're going to be right back with much more of the CBS News vice presidential debate in just a moment.
Okay, so we're going to let them throw that to commercial.
I'm trying to look at the law, the Minnesota law, and see what.
All right. Well, you find the law. I'm going to find a video that I want to share with you guys. It's talking about the border during the during this debate here, and it does turn out that Kamala Harris, even though they're trying to memory hole it, is the borders are. In fact, the borders are, and this might just be your guys' new favorite song. So enjoy this jam by the Dilly Meme team.
From the wackos on the left to the MAGAs on the right, they know I'm beating Kamala. This race won't even be tied. Her policies are nutso. She's out her goddamn mind. She just repeats the same thing, regurgitating her lines. She thinks that immigration without paperwork is good. Clearly not too much power underneath Kamala's hood. Borders are, it's what you are. Borders are, borders are. Cackling Kamala, you're dumb. Mass inflation imminent if she weasels herself in. If that don't sound like fun to you, then you better help me win. I promise I'll secure you, you'll be in better hands. It'd be a flippin' free-for-all with what Kamala plans. Borders are, it's what you are. Borders are, borders are. Laugh it up, Kamala. This lady, she's cackling crazy.
Sorry,
Oh,
I
I'm
got
sorry.
carried away. I was trying to cackle.
I'm sorry. I was getting.
Getting into it, huh? So is that your new favorite song? You go right into the playlist.
So I clicked on the link to go to the Minnesota legislator, and there's a link. We're sorry. There appears to have been an error during your request.
Oh.
Yeah, it says in January, Governor Walz signed Minnesota's Protect Reproductive Option Act, right? So that's a link.
Yeah.
So I click on the link and it says, nope, there's an error.
The government having an error. How convenient. We can't just go and fact check it real quick because it's not there. And those who have enough gumption to just initially go try to fact check are probably not going to go back and try to fact check it again later on when hopefully it does eventually come back up. So bookmark that.
Obvious. I never made the connection.
bookmark that for those of you who are viewing. Also, Crystal, Rich, let's make sure that we bookmark that so we know to go back and take a look at that again and see if we can't find when that does come up so that we can go back and refer to that fact check and throw that pie right back into Tim Walz's face, or egg on his face is what he'll have, I guess.
Yeah, so I just went from a totally different location and I get the same thing. There appears to have been an error during your request.
Wow.
Interesting.
Office of Reviser of Statutes?
Yeah. I went
Why
to
is
another
it the
link.
Reviser of Statutes?
Yeah, I just went to another link. I'm getting the same thing, folks.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
But I'm wondering why it's with a revisor office.
I don't know.
Because is it under revision?
Yeah, they're probably trying to rewrite it right now. So then it could be
right.
Then it could be just what he said.
Wow.
Josh, can you pop links in this? Can we pop links in here?
You can put them in. You can put them in the chat, but if you send them to me in Messenger, I'll make sure I'm leave them in the description and post. Okay, they are back. So let me get them back up here.
Yeah, because yeah.
The leading cause of death for children and teens in America is by firearms. Senator Vance,
Oh boy.
you oppose most gun legislation that Democrats claim would curb gun violence. You oppose red flag gun laws and legislation to ban certain semi-automatic rifles, including AR-15s. So let me ask you, earlier this year, for the first time, the parents of a school shooter were convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison.
It's because the state.
Do you think holding parents responsible could curb mass shootings? I'll give you 2 minutes.
On that particular case, I don't know the full details, but I certainly trust local law enforcement and local authorities to make those decisions. I think in some cases the answer is going to be yes, and in some cases the answer is going to be no. And the details really matter here, of course. For example, if a kid steals a gun, that's going to be different than if a parent hands over a gun knowing that their kid is potentially dangerous. But look, I want to just sort of speak as a father of 3 beautiful little kids, and our oldest is now in 2nd grade. And like a lot of parents, we send our kids to school with such hope and such joy and such pride at their little faces on the first day of school. And we know, unfortunately, that a lot of kids are going to experience this terrible epidemic of gun violence. And of course, our hearts go out to the families that are affected by this terrible stuff. And we do have to do better. And I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this. The question is just, how do we actually do it? Now, here's something that really bothers me and worries me about this epidemic of violence. The gross majority, close to 90% in some of the statistics I've seen, of the gun violence in this country is committed with illegally obtained firearms. And while we're on that topic, we know that thanks to Kamala Harris's open border, we've seen a massive influx in the number of illegal guns run by the Mexican drug cartels. So that number, the amount of illegal guns in our country is higher today than it was 3.5 years ago. But what do we do about the schools? What do we do to protect our kids? And I think the answer is, and I say this not loving the answer, because I don't want my kids to go to school in a school that feels unsafe or where there are visible signs of security. But I unfortunately think that we have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors lock better. We have to make the doors stronger. We've got to make the windows stronger. And of course, we've got to increase school resource officers, because the idea that we can magically wave a wand and take guns out of the hands of bad guys, it just doesn't fit with recent experience. So we've got to make our schools safer. And I think we've got to have some common sense bipartisan solutions for how to do that.
Governor, you have 2 minutes.
Try to refresh real quick. Let's see if we can get that time.
Responsibilities to our kids to figure this out. In Minnesota, we've enacted enhanced
now it's a little better
red flag laws, enhanced background checks, and we can start to get data. But here's the problem. If we really want to solve this, we've got folks that won't allow research to be even done on gun violence. And this idea that we should just live with it, and I here's what I do think, that this is a good start to the conversation. I 100% believe that Senator Vance hates it when these kids, it's abhorrent and it breaks your heart. I agree with that. But that's not far enough when we know there are things that work. I've spent time in Finland. and seen some Finnish schools. They don't have this happen, even though they have a high gun ownership rate in the country. There are reasonable things that we can do to make a difference. It's not infringing on your Second Amendment. And the idea to have some of these weapons out there, it just doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris, as an attorney general, worked on this issue. She knows that it's there. No one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns, but I ask all of you out there, do you want your schools hardened to look like a fort? Is that what we have to go when we know there's countries around the world?
What if maybe if you prosecuted
types of drills? They're being
and kept the people in jail and had some accountability?
Shouldn't be that difficult.
They wouldn't do it.
Still keep your firearms.
Also, it'd be nice to have like ex-military or
if you're listening tonight,
retired police officers protecting the schools.
Senator.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. I'm sorry about that, and I hope
appreciate
you're doing okay.
so.
Christ have mercy. It is awful, and I appreciate what Tim said actually about Finland, because I do think it illustrates some of the frankly weird differences between our own country's gun violence problem and Finland. Is okay. First of all, we have way higher rates of mental health abuse or mental health substance abuse. We have way higher rates of depression, way higher rates of anxiety. We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country that I really do think that we need to get to the root causes of, because I don't think it's the whole reason why we have such a bad gun violence problem, but I do think it's a big piece of it. Another driver of the gun violence epidemic, especially that affecting our kids, it doesn't earn as many headlines, but is the terrible gun violence problem in a lot of our big cities. And this is why we have to empower law enforcement to arrest the bad guys, put them away, and take gun offenders off the streets. I think there's a whole host of things that we can do here, but I do think at our schools, we've got to talk about more security.
Senator, thank you. Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but it's only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA, I was an NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety. I'm of an age where my shotgun was in my car so I could pheasant hunt after football practice. That's not where we live today. And several things I want to mention on this is talking about cities and where it's at. The number one where the most firearm deaths happen in Minnesota are rural suicides. And we have an epidemic of children getting guns and shooting themselves. And so we have, and we should look at all of the
Sounds like
issues.
mental health to me.
Yeah.
Making sure folks have health care and all that, but I want to be very careful. This idea of stigmatizing mental health, just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean you're violent. And I think what we end up doing is we start looking for a scapegoat. Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns.
No,
and there are things that
the
you
guns
can do
don't
about
kill
it. But I
people.
do think that this is one, and I think it's a healthy conversation. I think
Well,
there's
let's
a
see.
capacity to find
Hey,
solutions
Rock.
on this that work, protect Second Amendment, protect our children. That's our priority.
Gentlemen,
It's not the
thank you.
guns.
I suppose
Nora.
that
It's
Let's turn now
inside
to
the
the top
person's heart.
contributor to
I suppose the
inflation.
pencils just write
the high
assertions
cost
by
of housing
themselves
and rent.
Correct.
There's a shortage of
spoons
more
feed
than
me
4
ice
million
cream all by
homes in the
itself.
United
I got
States,
like
and that
this because
contributes to the high housing
it's a big ice
prices.
cream.
Governor Walz, the Harris campaign promises a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and a $10,000 tax credit. They also promise to build 3 million new homes. Where are you building these homes, and won't handing out that kind of money just drive up prices higher?
Who's
No,
going to
it's
pay
not
for it?
handing out. We have, first, let me say this issue of housing, and I think those of you listening on this, the problem we've had is that we've got a lot of folks that see housing as another commodity. It can be bought up, it can be shifted, it can be moved around. Those are not folks living in those houses. Those of you listening tonight, that house is a big deal. I bought and owned one house in my life. My mom still lives in the house where I was. And when I think of a house, I'm thinking of Christmas services after midnight mass where you go with your family. We need to make it more affordable. And one of the things, as I said, this program that the vice president is pushing forward and bringing a new way of approaching this is something we're doing in Minnesota from that lead. We in the state invested in making sure our housing was the biggest investment that we'd ever made in housing. It starts to make it easier. We cut some of the red tape. Local folks, look, we can't do it at the federal level, but local folks make it easier to build those homes. And then that down payment assistance. I can tell all of you out there, one of the, certainly for me, using the GI Bill was one thing, but a veteran's home loan, the big thing about a veteran's home loan is you don't have to pay the down payment. Those are things
What does that
make
have
it
to
there. Now,
do
look, you're
with
going to pay it
the homes
back,
he plans to build?
and you're going to pay your mortgage.
What
Those
is
are
all
things
this
that we
how's
know
it
in the long run, the appreciated
$25,000?
value,
How are you
the
going to pay for
generational
it, sir?
wealth that's created
That's
from
the
it.
question she
And I
asked.
will give Minneapolis an example.
They'll just
Minneapolis
jack it
is
up
the one city where we've
25,000.
seen the lowest
It's
inflation
just going to
rates.
make the prices
We've seen
increase.
a 12% increase in
And the
stocks
housing
because
market
we
will just
put
jack
some
their
of these
prices
things
up
in, and
25,000
we're
and
implementing
make it even
a
harder.
program to make sure we
Yeah.
give some of that down payment assistance. We get it back from people because here's what we know. People with stable housing end up with stable jobs. People with stable housing have their kids able to get to school. All of those things in the long run end up saving our money. And that's the thing that I think we should be able to find some common ground in, but we can't blame immigrants for the only reason. That's not the case that's happening in many cities. The fact of the matter is that we don't have enough naturally affordable housing, but we can make sure that the government's there to help kickstart it, create that base.
Governor, your time is up. Senator Vance, as far as your campaign's position, the promise is to seize federal lands to build homes, remove regulation, provide tax breaks, and cut back on immigration, which you say pushes up prices. Where are you going to build all the new homes you're promising? And what part of any of this plan will provide immediate relief? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame Kamala Harris for letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country, which does drive up costs, Tim. 25 million illegal aliens competing with
Tim's
Americans
microphone
for
so long?
scarce homes is one of the
I don't
most
know.
significant drivers of home prices in the country. It's why we have massive increases in home prices that have happened right alongside massive increases in illegal alien populations under Kamala Harris's leadership. Now, Tim just mentioned a bunch of ideas. Now, some of those ideas I actually think are halfway decent, and some of them I disagree with. But the most important thing here is Kamala Harris is not running as a newcomer to politics. She is the sitting vice president. If she wants to enact all of these policies to make housing more affordable, I invite her to use the office that the American people already gave her, not sit around and campaign and do nothing while Americans find the American dream of homeownership completely unaffordable. Now, you asked, Margaret, what would immediately change the equation for American citizens if you lower energy prices? As Donald Trump says, drill, baby, drill. One of the biggest drivers of housing costs, aside from illegal immigration, is, think about it. If a truck driver's paying 40% more for diesel, then the lumber he's delivering to the job site to build the house is also going to become a lot more expensive. If we open up American energy, you will get immediate pricing relief for American citizens, not, by the way, just in housing, but in a whole host of other economic goods too.
Like groceries.
Senator Vance, you still have 23 seconds there. Do you want to answer?
Can I have it?
Where? Yeah. Governor, we will get to you in a moment. But Senator, where are you going to seize the federal lands? Can you clarify?
Well, what Donald Trump has said is we have a lot of federal lands that aren't being used for anything. They're not being used for national park. They're not being used, and they could be places where we build a lot of housing. And I do think that we should be opening up building in this country. We have a lot of land that could be used. We have a lot of Americans that need homes. We should be kicking out illegal immigrants who are competing for those homes, and we should be building more homes for the American citizens who deserve to be here.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, I do want to let you respond to the allegation that the vice president is letting in.
Well, of course, that's not true. And again, you have the facts. I guess we agreed not to fact check. I'll check it. That, look, crossings are down compared to when Donald Trump left office. But it's, again, blaming and not trying to find a solution. I was going to ask on this question, are we going to drill and build houses on some federal land? And I think when people hear federal lands, these are really
like, oh, yeah, that's
true. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of federal lands. I know in the western part of the country we do. There's not a lot of federal lands in and around Minneapolis, for example. So the issue is I don't understand the federal lands issue unless we see this, and I worry about this as someone who cares deeply about our national parks and our federal lands. Look, Minnesota, we protect these things. We've got about 20% of the world's fresh water. These lands protect. They're there for a reason. They belong to all of us. But again, this is when you view housing and you view these things as commodities. Like, there's a chance to make money here. Let's take this federal land and let's sell it to people for that. I think there's better ways to do this. We've seen it in Minnesota. We're able to refurbish some of these houses. We're able to make some investments.
There's plenty of lands that the federal government
and
owns.
I'm still on
It does
the
go
fact on
completely
this.
unused.
Yeah.
Economists.
Yeah, just ask the
Senator
Indians.
Vance, you said you
Not
don't like the
about
economists.
nature,
Which
but it goes
economists are
completely
saying
unused,
that
and
it is
you could
immigrants
put
that's adding
homes
to the
there.
cost?
Governor,
Where's
your
the study?
time is
Sorry.
up. But,
Instead of
Senator,
when
on
it was
that
stolen to begin
point, I'd
with,
like
they
for
just
you to
because it was
clarify
the
there are
eminent
many
domain or whatever,
contributing
they took it,
factors
and they didn't
to
never
high
use it. They
housing
developed it,
costs.
didn't
What
use it.
evidence do you have
Why not put houses
that
on it?
migrants
Let it be affordable
are
housing for people.
part of this problem?
Well, there's a Federal Reserve study that we're happy to share after the debate. We'll put it up on social media, actually, that really drills down on the connection between increased levels of migration, especially illegal immigration, and higher housing prices. Now, of course, Margaret, that's not the entire driver of higher housing prices. It's also the regulatory regime of Kamala Harris. Look, we are a country of builders. We're a country of doers. We're a country of explorers. But we increasingly have a federal administration that makes it harder to develop our resources, makes it harder to build things, and wants to throw people in jail for not doing everything exactly as Kamala Harris says they have to do. And what that means is that you have a lot of people who would love to build homes who aren't able to build homes. I actually agree with Tim Walz. We should get out of this idea of housing as a commodity. But the thing that has most turned housing into a commodity is giving it away to millions upon millions of people who have no legal right to be here.
What are the federal regulations? I deal with this as a governor.
You can very quickly reply.
I'm sorry. I get this as a governor, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, that in some cases, many of those are local, many of them are state. I don't know which ones are federal, but I think whenever we talk regulations, people think they can get rid of them. I think you want to be able to get out of your house in a fire. I think you want to make sure that it's fireproof and those types of things. So which are the regulations? Because the vice president's not responsible for those. Congress writes those.
Governor, thank you. Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to. You're passionate about the housing crisis, I can tell. But Nora?
Thank you. One of the top problems facing Americans is the high cost of health care. Senator Vance, at the last presidential debate, former President Trump was asked about replacing the Affordable Care Act. In response, he said, "I have concepts of a plan." Since then, Senator, you've talked about changing how chronically ill Americans get health insurance. Can you explain how that would work? And can you guarantee that Americans with pre-existing conditions won't pay more? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, of course, we're going to cover Americans with pre-existing conditions. In fact, a lot of my family members have gotten health care. I believe, members of my family actually got private health insurance, at least for the first time, switched off of Medicaid onto private insurance for the first time under Donald Trump's leadership. And I think that, a lot of people have criticized this concepts of a plan remark. I think it's very simple common sense. I think as Tim Walz knows from 12 years in Congress, you're not going to propose a 900-page bill standing on a debate stage. It would bore everybody to tears, and it wouldn't actually mean anything because part of this is the give and take of bipartisan negotiation. Now, when Donald Trump was actually president, and again, he has a record to be proud of, prescription drugs fell in 2018 for the first time in a very long time. Under Kamala Harris's leadership, prescription drugs are up about 7%. Under Donald Trump's entire 4 years, they were up about 1.5%. He introduced pricing transparency. Think about healthcare. You go into a hospital, you try to buy something, and nobody knows what it actually costs. That price transparency will actually give American consumers a little bit more choice and will also drive down costs. And we talked about, the reinsurance regulations is what I was talking about. Look, Donald Trump has said that if we allow states to experiment a little bit on how to cover both the chronically ill, but the non-chronically ill, it's not just a plan. He actually implemented some of these regulations when he was president of the United States. And I think you can make a really good argument that it salvaged Obamacare, which was doing disastrously until Donald Trump came along. And I think this is an important point about President Trump. Of course, you don't have to agree with everything that President Trump has ever said or ever done. But when Obamacare was crushing under the weight of its own regulatory burden and healthcare costs, Donald Trump could have destroyed the program. Instead, he worked in a bipartisan way to ensure that Americans had access to affordable care. It's not perfect, of course, and there's so much more that we can do, but I think that Donald Trump has earned the right to put in place some better healthcare policies. He's earned it because he did it successfully the first time.
Governor?
All right, here's where being an old guy gives you some history. I was there at the creation of the ACA. And the reason it was so important is I come from a major healthcare state, home of the Mayo Clinic, home to Medical Alley. 3M, Medtronic, all of those. We understand healthcare. It's why we're ranked first on affordability and accessibility and quality of healthcare. And so what I know is under Kamala Harris, more people are covered than they have before. And those of you listening, this is critical to you. Now, Donald Trump all of a sudden wants to go back and remember this. He ran on the first thing he was going to do on day one
about Donald Trump,
was to
here. I have an idea to solve a lot
on
of
day
this.
one. He tried to sign
How about
an
being
executive
able to
order
purchase
to repeal the
health
ACA.
insurance?
He signed
How
on
about being
to
able
a
to purchase
lawsuit
health insurance
to repeal
across
the
state lines?
ACA, but lost
Yeah.
at the Supreme Court.
Then,
And
but then they have
would
to do something
repealed
called
the
competing
ACA
for your
had it
dollars.
not been for the courage of John McCain
Yeah.
to save that bill.
Because competition will
Now,
drive
fast
their
forward,
prices.
What that means to you is you
Down.
lose your pre-existing conditions. If you're sitting at
And
home and you got asthma,
if,
too
if,
bad.
if
you're
anybody
a
out
woman,
there,
probably not.
the handful of you
Broke
that
your
are
foot
watching,
during football
if you happen
might
to be
kick
able
you
to
out.
get the,
Your kids get
President
kicked out
Trump's
when they're
here.
26.
That's my
Kamala
proposal.
Harris
Being
negotiated
able to
drug prices for
purchase
the first time
across state
with
lines
Medicare.
your health
We have
insurance.
10 drugs that will come online, the
That-
most common ones
that
that'll be there.
will cure
But
this
look, this issue,
baloney
and when
argument
Donald Trump said, I
on
got a
either side.
concept of a plan, it cracked me up as a fourth grade teacher because my kids would have never given me that. But what Senator Vance just explained might be worse than a concept, because what he explained is pre-Obamacare. And I'll make this as simple as possible because I have done this for a long time.
It drove up prices.
What they're saying is, if you're healthy, why should you be paying more? So what they're going to do is let insurance companies pick who they insure, because guess what happens? You pay your premium, it's not much. They're figure they're not going to have to pay out to you. But those of you a little older, gray, got cancer, you're going to get kicked out of it. That's why the system didn't work.
Let's give the
Kamala
choice
Harris will protect
to the
and
insurance
enhance
companies.
the ACA.
That'll make
Governor,
things better.
thank you. Senator, you have not yet explained how you would protect people with pre-existing conditions or laid out that plan.
Well, look, we currently have laws and regulations in place right now that protect people with pre-existing conditions. We want to keep those regulations in place, but we also want to make the health insurance marketplace function a little bit better. Now, what Governor Walz just said is actually not true. A lot of what happened, and the reason that Obamacare was crushing under its own weight, is that a lot of young and healthy people were leaving the exchanges. Donald Trump actually helped address that problem, and he did so in a way that preserved people's access to coverage who had pre-existing conditions. But again, something that these guys do is they make a lot of claims about if Donald Trump becomes president, all of these terrible consequences are going to ensue. But in reality, Donald Trump was president. Inflation was low. Take-home pay was higher, and he saved the very program from a Democratic administration that was collapsing and would have collapsed absent his leadership. He did his job, which is govern in a bipartisan way and get results, not just complain about problems, but actually solve them.
Governor, did enrollment under the Affordable Care Act go up under the Trump administration?
It's higher now that we've seen it go up. Look, people are using it. The system works. And the question about this of young people or whatever, that's the individual mandate piece of this. And Republicans fought tooth and nail saying, well, Americans should be free to do this. Well, then
so
what
you
happens
think the
is
individual mandate's a good idea?
you shrink. I think the idea of making sure the risk pool is broad enough to cover everyone, that's the only way insurance works. When it doesn't, it collapses. You are asking pre-ACA where we get people out. Look, people know that they need to be on health care. People expect it to be there. And when we are able to make it, and we are making it this way, when we incentivize people to be in the market, when we help people who might not be able to afford it,
you don't
get there,
incentivize
and
people
we
to be
make
in the
sure
market.
then
You
when
punish
you
them
get
for
sick
not
and
being
old,
in the
it's
market.
there for you. Because I heard people say, well, I don't want to
Especially
buy
in
into
All of a
Medicare
sudden,
or
if you
whatever.
don't
Good
have
luck
health
buying
insurance,
healthcare
you
once
have
you
to
get
pay a
past 70.
fine.
So look, the
Yeah.
ACA
Especially
works.
those who are
We can
indigent.
continue to do
I
better.
have
Kamala Harris
a
did that.
couple
The way
good
she
friends of
made
mine that I
everything better
grown up with
was
that were
negotiating those
indigent
10 drugs on
and under
Medicare for the
Obamacare
first
had to
time
pay
in American
fines
history.
that they had no
Thank
money
you,
for.
Margaret.
Can I
Or
address
I
They're expected to pay
apologize. We're
because
out of
they
time.
didn't
We have
have
a
health
number of
insurance.
subjects to
Health
discuss.
insurance that they
Margaret,
could not.
Let's talk about
afford.
families in America.
Yeah.
There is a child care crisis in this country, and the United States is one of the very few developed countries in the world without a national paid leave program for new parents. Governor Walz, you said that if Democrats win both the White House and Congress, this is a day one priority for you. How long should employers be required to pay workers while they are home taking care of their newborns? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's negotiable, and that's what Congress worked. But here's what the deal is.
Negotiable. Child
Americans
care is
sitting out
not a
there
right.
right now. You may work
It's
for
not
a
a
big
right.
company. Look, we're home in Minnesota to some of
It's
the
just
largest
not.
Fortune 500 companies. Kamala Harris knows that in California.
My parents,
Those companies provide paid family
my
medical.
mom didn't do
One
healthcare.
is, I think they're
I
They
mean,
think it's a good
childcare.
thing.
She
But
stayed
it
at
also
home.
keeps their employees healthy. We in Minnesota passed a paid family
They went
medical
down
leave.
to
You have
one
a
car.
child,
They only had one car.
and I had to go
I
back to work
remember
5
my
days after my
dad
kids were born.
would take a
This
bus
allows
to
you to
work.
stay home a certain amount of time. What we know
When
is
my mom needed
that
the
gets
car
the
to go
child off to a
grocery
better
shopping.
start. The family works
You
better.
make
We
adjustments,
stay
right?
in their employers.
Exactly.
We get more
Or a lot of
consistency
times
in that.
nowadays,
So
you can call
Kamala Harris
grandma,
has made
you
it a
call
priority. We
great-grandma,
implemented it in
somebody,
Minnesota,
family.
and we see growth.
Call somebody else.
That's how you
Like,
become
but I don't have any family. Well,
pro-business
then
state.
suck it up,
But the
Buttercup.
negotiations on it, and
Go
here's
find
the issue.
one of your family
Those
members
big
that you
companies
just
are
haven't
able
been
to
talking
offer
to.
it.
Tell them you're
Those
sorry
of
for
you out
being
there
an
who
idiot.
don't have it,
And
just imagine what
say, like,
happens
here's
if you
my
get
child.
cancer
Can you please take
or
care
your
of
child
them for,
gets sick.
little to no
We
money?
know what
And you
happens.
probably will.
You end
'Cause
up staying home.
if you're
In some
kind,
cases, that means
you
no
know,
paycheck because you've got
you
no
can help, they
protection
can
on
help you
that.
make adjustments because
This
they want
is
to
the
see you
case
succeed.
of an
No
economy
matter
that
if they
Donald Trump
think
has
they
set
dislike you, they're going
for
to
the
want to see you
wealthiest
succeed.
amongst us.
I guarantee
He's
you.
willing to give those tax breaks to the wealthiest. He's willing to say, bust those unions
What
up,
does that have
do
to do with
whatever. What we're saying is the economy works best when it works for all of us. And so a paid family medical leave program, and I will tell you, go to the families or go to the businesses and ask them. As far as childcare on this, you have to take it at both the supply and the demand side. You can't expect the most important people in our lives to take either our children or our parents to get paid the least amount of money. And we have to make it easier for folks to be able to get into that business and then to make sure that folks are able to pay for that. We were able to do it in Minnesota, and I'm still telling you this. We were listed as the best state. We're still in crisis on this. A federal program of paid family and medical leave and help with this will enhance our workforce, enhance our families, and make it easier to have the children that you want.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, do you support a national paid leave program? And if so, for how long should employers be mandated to pay their employees while they are home taking care of their newborn? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, first of all, Margaret, a number of my Republican colleagues and some Democrats, too, have worked on this issue. And I think there is a bipartisan solution here because a lot of us care about this issue. I mean, look, I speak from this very personally because I'm married to a beautiful woman who is an incredible mother to our 3 beautiful kids, but is also a very, very brilliant corporate litigator. And I'm so proud of her. But being a working mom, even for somebody with all of the advantages of my wife, is extraordinarily difficult. And it's not just difficult from a policy perspective. She actually had access to paid family leave because she worked for a bigger company. But the cultural pressure on young families and especially young women, I think makes it really hard for people to choose the family model they want. A lot of young women would like to go back to work immediately. Some would like to spend a little time home with the kids. Some would like to spend longer at home with the kids. We should have a family care model that makes choice possible. And I think this is a very important substantive difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris's approach. I mean, look, if you look at the federal programs that we have that support paid family leave right now, the Community Development Block Grant, and there's another block grant program that spends a lot of money from the federal government. These programs only go to one kind of childcare model. Let's say you'd like your church maybe to help you out with childcare. Maybe you live in a rural area or an urban area and you'd like to get together with families in your neighborhood to provide childcare in the way that makes the most sense. You don't get access to any of these federal monies. We want to promote choice in how we deliver family care and how we promote childcare. Because look, it is unacceptable. And of course, Tim and I have been on the campaign trail a lot the past 7 or 8 weeks. And one of the biggest complaints I hear from young families is people who feel like they don't have options, like they're choosing between going to work or taking care for their kids. That is an incredible burden to put on American families. We're the only country that does it. I think we could do a heck of a lot better.
Senator, thank you. You have also said, Senator Vance, many things about the American family. The Federal Reserve says parents will spend nearly as much on childcare as they do on housing each month. So I want to get your thoughts on this. President Trump recently said, as much as childcare is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kinds of numbers we'll be taking in. Is President Trump committed to the $5,000 per child tax credit that you have described? You have 1 minute.
Well, what President Trump said, Margaret, I just want to defend my running mate here a little bit, is that we're going to be taking in a lot of money by penalizing companies for shipping jobs overseas and penalizing countries who employ slave laborers and then ship their products back into our country and undercut the wages of American workers.
Back.
It's the heart of the Donald Trump economic plan. Cut taxes for American workers and American families. Cut taxes for businesses that are hiring and building companies in the United States of America, but penalize companies and countries countries that are shipping jobs overseas. That's the heart of the economic proposal. And I think what President Trump is saying is that when we bring in this additional revenue with higher economic growth, we're going to be able to provide paid family leave, childcare options that are viable and workable for a lot of American families.
Can you clarify how that will solve the childcare shortage?
Well, because as Tim said, a lot of the child care shortages, we just don't have enough resources going into the multiple people who could be providing family care options. And we're going to have to, unfortunately, look, we're going to have to spend more money. We're going to have to induce more people to want to provide child care options for American families, because the reason it's so expensive right now is because you've got way too few people providing this very essential service.
Thank you, Senator.
Well, how Tim
Governor
Walz and Harris will
your
do it.
Ticket also
Just
has
get
some
abortions,
childcare
and
tax credit
you don't have
proposals.
kids.
Do you think Congress will agree to the $6,000 credit for newborns and $3,000 credit for children over the age of 6, as your campaign has promised? Is that realistic?
Well, if these members of Congress are listening to anybody, I can tell you, and this is the biggest issue. Everybody listening tonight knows. I mean, I'm sure they were shocked to hear it's not that expensive. And let's be clear, whether it's 5,000 or 6,000, that pays you about 3 or 4 months. Let's be clear of where we're at on this. It's because we got out of an imbalance on this.
Really
we thought we were going to get by not paying people. I don't think Senator Vance or that far apart.
I think that both answers are
on options. We've done scholarship
bogus,
types of things. I think we need to
tell
be
me I'm
open
wrong.
to making the case.
Does it look
But
like
the
both
issue
of
here
them
is,
are wearing
the question you
eyeliner
asked
tonight,
is,
like very heavy?
You're not going to pay for it with these tariffs. That's just adding another $4,000 on the family and taking less.
Very heavy
so not only
eyeliner
do
on
they
both of
not
them.
get the money to pay for that.
JD all the way around the eye,
in the hole.
and
That's
then
Wharton School. That's his alma mater.
Emo,
and so I think the issue here is
just on
those
the top,
members of Congress,
Walz,
I can't believe they're not in. When I go to businesses, sure, they'll talk about taxes sometime, but they will lead with childcare and they will lead with housing, because we know the problem is, especially in a state like Minnesota, we need more workers because our economy is growing, but we need
am I
more
wrong?
workforce.
Do they not look like
thank you.
they both got eyeliner on?
Nora?
Let's talk about the state of democracy.
looks like
It's
it's
a top
covered in the
issue
ladies
for
here.
Americans after the economy
Until you get that
and
wide shot of
inflation.
both of them again.
After the 2020
look. I
election,
think
President
it's-
Trump's
it looks like
campaign
they're
and
both
others
She has
filed
fake
62
eyelashes on.
lawsuits contesting
Well,
the results.
It's probably a big
Judges, including
fan of,
those appointed by President
Reese
Trump and other
in
Republican presidents, looked at the evidence and said there was no widespread fraud. The governors of every state in the nation,
Widespread fraud.
Republicans and Democrats, certified the 2020 election results and sent a legal slate
about
of
this.
electors to Congress for January 6th. Senator Vance, you have said you would
It's
not
the
have certified
typical
the last
Democrat
presidential
playbook
election and would have
questions
asked the states
again.
to submit alternative electors.
What does this
That
have-
has been called
What does this have to do with
unconstitutional
the
and
future?
illegal. Would
Thank
you
you.
again seek to challenge this year's election results, even if every governor certifies the results? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, Nora, first of all, I think that we're focused on the future. We need to figure out how to solve the inflation crisis caused by Kamala Harris's policies, make housing affordable, make groceries affordable, and that's what we're focused on. But I want to answer your question because
I
you
got to
did
step
ask
away
it.
for a second.
Look, what President Trump has said is that there were problems in 2020, and my own belief is that we should fight about those issues, debate those issues peacefully in the public square, and that's all I've said, and that's all that Donald Trump has said. Remember, he said that on January the 6th, the protesters ought to protest peacefully. And on January the 20th, what happened? Joe Biden became the president. Donald Trump left the White House. And now, of course, unfortunately, we have all of the negative policies that have come from the Harris-Biden administration. I believe that we actually do have a threat to democracy in this country, but unfortunately, it's not the threat to democracy that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz want to talk about. It is the threat of censorship. It's Americans casting aside lifelong friendships because of disagreements over politics. It's big technology companies silencing their fellow citizens. And it's Kamala Harris saying that rather than debate and persuade her fellow Americans, she'd like to censor people who engage in misinformation. I think that is a much bigger threat to democracy than anything that we've seen in this country in the last 4 years, in the last 40 years. Now, I'm really proud, especially given that I was raised by 2 lifelong blue-collar Democrats, to have the endorsement of Bobby Kennedy Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, lifelong leaders in the Democratic coalition. And of course, they don't agree with me and Donald Trump on every issue. We don't have to agree on every issue, but we're united behind a basic American First Amendment principle that we ought to debate our differences.
We
ought to
gotta
argue
mute
about
it
them. We ought to try to persuade our fellow Americans.
in your
Kamala
face.
Harris is engaged in censorship at an industrial scale. She did it during COVID. She's done it over a number of other issues. And that, to me, is a much bigger threat to democracy than what Donald Trump said when he said that protesters should peacefully protest on January the 6th.
Governor?
Well, I've enjoyed tonight's
Specifically
debate. I think there was a lot
peacefully
of
and patriotically make your voices
heard.
heard.
Misspeaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator.
Me
there's
too, man.
one-
I feel
there's
so
one, though, that
refreshed.
This one is troubling to me, and I say that because I think we need to tell the story. Donald Trump refused to acknowledge this, and the fact is that I don't think we can be the frog in the pot and let the boiling water go up. He was very clear. I mean, he lost this election, and he said he did. 140 police officers were beaten at the Capitol that day. Some
No,
with
they
the American
weren't.
flag.
No, they
Several
weren't.
later died, and it wasn't
Say out
just
loud,
in
dude. There's
there.
thousands of
In
hours of
Minnesota,
videotape out
A
there.
group gathered on the state capitol grounds in St. Paul and said, "We're marching to the governor's residence, and there may be casualties." The only person there was my son and his dog, who was rushed out crying by state police. That issue,
Emotions.
and Mike Pence standing there as they were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Mike Pence made the right decision. So, Senator, it was adjudicated over and over and over. I worked with kids long enough to know.
That
and I
noose
said, as a
wasn't tall
football
enough to
coach,
hang a
sometimes you
midget.
really want to win, but the democracy is bigger than winning an election. You shake hands.
I don't know if y'all ever
and then
seen
you
the
try and do
pulled-back
everything
version
you
of that.
can to help the other
It wasn't
side
tall
win.
enough to hang a midget on.
That's what was at stake here. Now, the thing I'm most concerned about is the idea that imprisoning your political opponents, already laying the groundwork for people not accepting this. And a president's words matter.
Really?
A president's words matter.
Really?
People hear that. So I think this issue of settling our differences at the ballot box, shaking hands when we lose, being honest about it, but to deny what happened on January 6th, the first time in American history that a president or anyone tried to overturn a fair election and the peaceful transfer of power. And here we are 4 years later in the same boat. I will tell you this, that when this is over, we need to shake hands this election, and the winner needs to be the winner. This has got to stop. It's tearing our country apart.
I hope he actually lives up to that then.
Senator
Yep.
Vance, did you want to
We'll
respond
see.
to that?
Yeah, well, look, Tim, first of all, it's really rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th, as we have done for 250 years in this country.
Yep.
We are going to shake hands after this debate and after this election. And of course, I hope that we win, and I think we're going to win. But if Tim Walz is the next vice president, he'll have my prayers, he'll have my best wishes, and he'll have my help whenever he wants it. But we have to remember that for years in this country, Democrats protested the results of elections. Hillary Clinton in 2016 said that Donald Trump had the election stolen by Vladimir Putin because the Russians bought like $500,000 worth of Facebook ads. This has been going on for a long time. And if we want to say that we need to respect the results of the election, I'm on board.
getting
But if we want to
irritated.
say, as Tim Walz is
didn't even
saying, that
know
this is just a problem that Republicans have had, I don't buy that.
Governor.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. And I think a revisionist history on this. Look, I don't understand how we got to this point, but the issue was that happened. Donald Trump can do it. And all of us say there's no place for this. It has massive repercussions. This idea that there's censorship to stop people from threatening to kill someone, threatening to do something, that's not censorship. Censorship is book banning. We've seen that. We've seen that brought up.
No, we
I just
haven't.
think for everyone tonight, and I'm going to thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want
Wants
to
to pivot
hear.
the
And I think there's a
conversation
lot
because
of
he knows
agreement. This
he's
is one
losing.
that we are miles apart on. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attack us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence
determines
people
what
from
hate
speaking
speech
their
is,
minds.
Tim?
That is a threat to democracy
determines
that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded theater. You guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook.
That's such an
for
old.
saying that
Oh my
toddlers
God.
shouldn't
Senator,
wear
the governor
masks.
does
That's
have the
not
floor.
Fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Senator, the governor does have the floor for 1 minute to respond to you.
Yeah. Well, I don't run Facebook. What I do know is I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this, I'm pretty shocked by this. He lost the election. This is not a debate. It's not anything anywhere other than in Donald Trump's world. Because look,
here we go again. Can we pin you down on this? Can we pin you down on this? Can we pin you down on this? It always goes
That's
back
why
to
Mike
this.
Pence isn't on this stage.
Baloney.
What I'm concerned about is
what does this
where
have to
is
do
the
about the future?
firewall with Donald Trump? Where is the firewall if he knows he could do anything, including taking an election, and his vice president's not going to stand to it? That's what we're asking you, America. Will you stand up? Will you keep your oath of office, even if the president doesn't? And I think Kamala Harris would agree. She wouldn't have picked me if she didn't think I would do that, because of course that's what we would do. So America, I think you've got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Governor, your time is up. Thank you, gentlemen.
Who's gonna honor
we will
Donald
be right
Trump?
back with both of our
Did he
candidates.
just say
The
who's
CBS
gonna
News
honor
Vice
Donald
Presidential debate continues.
That's what I thought he said.
I don't know.
He
Looks
just
like a
said who's going to
commercial.
honor Donald Trump.
I thought
What
that
did he mean by that?
they were scheduled to be done at this point. I'm not for sure. I guess they're going all the way till. I guess they're going for the 11 o'clock hour. I'm surprised by this. I thought it was supposed to end at 10:30 there, but yeah, they're still going.
Stuck on that. Him saying who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
I know you got nothing, do you, Josh?
I got nothing.
Utterly speechless. Other than the fact that they have. Maybe I should have maybe I should put the next time we're on. I should just put on full eyeliner, so I can be like, oh, this is my JD Vance eyeliner. You know, have my wife do it.
We'll have Rich play JD Vance.
I am not putting eyeliner on. I am not putting eyeliner. No.
We can get you some fake eyelashes.
No.
Laura's the best makeup artist. There's none
as
better.
Sterling would say, no. Nope. This guy has never had makeup on, and he never will have makeup on.
Oh man, I can't believe that they actually went to a second commercial break. It took them forever. It took forever to get into these
I'm
commercials.
getting sleepy. Can you tell? Like this is way past my bedtime.
A lot of like droning though from Walz and about nothing about the actual question. JD's like, here's a point, and then let me answer your question. And then it answers the question.
Mm-hmm.
Walz, he starts on something, and then just like Kamala, he goes off into the distance.
Goes off on a beaten path.
Like, oh well, let's pull on your heartstrings. Let's check this out. Let's see what's going on there. Oh my
It
goodness.
is all about the emotions. I'm telling you. Every
It's
time
all
I hear
about
him
the
talk,
bass. About the bass. No treble.
it's all about the emotions.
All about the bass. About the bass. No rebels.
I don't have much to say about him, like at all.
Let's see if I can.
I just
pull these memes back up while you're. Go ahead.
I'm just having a hard time because I don't like him at all. So I'm just having a hard time even paying attention to what he's saying because I don't care. I'm trying to care for the.
Are you trying to
podcast.
be like Kareen and caring?
Huh?
Are you trying to be caring?
Oh, you said like Karine. I was like, huh?
Karine.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Karen? It's her name's Karen. I don't care what anybody says. She just changed the pronunciation of it because
But
she didn't
you
want
know
to look
what?
like a Karen.
They say pictures worth 1,000 words, Crystal. Check this out. That's Alex Soros next to Tim Walz here.
Mm-hmm.
If those who were watching at the beginning would notice that who Alex Soros is actually the son of George Soros. That's where a lot of this money comes from. It enables Antifa and tearing up the streets and everything. So, but yes, that's who's also.
And he's pointing to this can be all yours.
Yeah,
with the low down payment.
Ooh, doesn't that sound like what Satan told Jesus in the wilderness?
Yeah. Just sell me your soul, and you can have all this.
Yeah.
Put some horns on
Alex.
On Alex. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but Tim's got a long lost daughter out there. You seen this?
I lost it earlier when I saw that, and I was trying to make the face.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh, they're back. So I'm gonna switch it over here.
Okay.
Try to anyway.
Should be closing arguments, probably.
Coin toss and elected to go last.
Closing
Governor
arguments.
Walz, you are first. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Senator Vance. Thank you to CBS News. And most importantly, thank you to all of you. If you're still up and the folks who miss Dancing with Our Stars, I appreciate it. But look, the support of the democracy matters. It matters that you're here. And I'm as surprised as anybody of this coalition that Kamala Harris has built, from Bernie Sanders to Dick Cheney to Taylor Swift, and a whole bunch of folks in between.
Taylor Swift?
And they don't all agree on everything.
Really?
But they are truly optimistic.
Sorry, I just threw up in my mouth.
They believe in a positive future of this country, and one where our politics can be better than it is. And I have to tell you, that better than it is the sense of optimism that there can be an opportunity economy that works for everyone, not just to get by, but to get ahead. And the idea that freedom really means something, not the freedom of government to be in your bedroom or exam room, but the freedom for you to make choices about yourself. Now, look, we all know who Donald Trump is. He's told us, and as Maya Angelou said, believe him when he told you that. His first inaugural address talked about American carnage, and then he spent 4 years trying to maybe do that. Senator Vance tonight made it clear he will stand with Donald Trump's agenda. He will continue to push down that road. Excuse me. Kamala Harris gives us a different option. Now, I'll have to tell you, I'm going to be careful about the quotes, but there's one that Senator Vance said that does resonate with me. He said, Donald Trump makes the people I care about afraid. A lot of America feels that way. We don't need to be afraid. Franklin Roosevelt was right. All we have to fear is fear itself. Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that.
Joy.
All the while asking everyone, join this movement, make your voices heard. Let's look for a new day where everybody gets that opportunity and everybody gets a chance to thrive.
Mr. Trump, what do you
I
think about
humbly
it?
ask for your vote on November 5th for Kamala Harris.
Governor Walz, thank you. Senator Vance, your closing statement.
Well, I want to thank Governor Walz, you folks at CBS, and of course the American people for tuning in this evening. And one of the issues we didn't talk about was energy. And I remember when I was being raised by my grandmother, when she didn't have enough money to turn on the heat some nights
In the middle
because
class.
Ohio gets pretty cold at night, and because money was often very tight.
That's what actual
And I
middle class
believe,
is, right?
as a person who wants to be your next vice president, that we are a rich and prosperous enough country where every American, whether they're rich or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat in the middle of a cold winter night. That's gotten more difficult thanks to Kamala Harris's energy policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford a nice meal for your family. That's gotten harder because of Kamala Harris's policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford to buy a house. You ought to be able to live in safe neighborhoods. You ought to not have your communities flooded with fentanyl. And that too has gotten harder with Kamala because of Kamala Harris's policies. Now, I've been in politics long enough to do what Kamala Harris does when she stands before the American people and says that on day one, she's going to work on all these challenges I just listed. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. Day one was 1,400 days ago, and her policies have made these problems worse. Now, I believe that we have the most beautiful country in the world. I meet people on the campaign trail who can't afford food, but have the grace and generosity to ask me how I'm doing and to tell me they're praying for my family. What that has taught me is that we have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. But
Everybody
they're not
knows
going to
it.
be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington.
Everybody
They're not
talks
going to
about
be able
it.
to live
They're all
their
talking
American
about
dream
it.
if we do the same thing
what
that
they
we've
tell
been
me.
doing for the
That's what they
last
tell me.
3.5 years. We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well. Please vote for Donald Trump. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. God bless you, and good night.
Senator Vance, thank you. And thank you both for participating in the only vice
So magical.
presidential debate of this election cycle. I'm Margaret Brennan.
And I'm Nora O'Donnell.
Yeah, blah 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 blah.
Wah,
those folks.
wah, 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 wah.
Sure
Well,
they'll-
it was nice that the moderators did not fact check.
Yeah, they did.
but they tried to. Oh, they tried to. Yeah, they tried to tell him that that he was wrong. Oh no, actually, during the presidential debate, this was said. What does that have to do with JD?
Yeah.
And then nothing about the future. It was always about like what Let's talk about 2020. Let's talk about J6.
Yep.
Well, why don't we talk about the last 3.5 years? Why don't we talk about that? Never brought any of that. No, never brought up any of that.
Let's talk about the dossier. Let's talk about the PP tape. Let's talk about the bleach bit. Let's
talk about Benghazi.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the smart aleck in me. I would probably have to say some stuff like that. Like, if they said stuff to me, I'd be like, well, why don't we talk about Benghazi? Why don't we talk about the bleach bit that Hillary did and beating the camera or beating the phones and all that stuff? Like, why don't we just talk about that? How about that? Want to? Let's do it. That cracks me up.
If you get out there and you start shopping right now, you know what you might find at your local Spirit Halloween, Crystal. You might find Angry Walz costume. It includes. It comes with fraudulent cash, the crime report, a Vax card, and 2 cloth masks worth their weight in gold.
Loving it. That's amazing.
The funniest part is down
That's
here.
Amazing.
But you can't see down here in the corner, but it says adult size costume.
And I wouldn't. And I asked Josh. I said, wait a minute, doesn't it come with 2 tampons?
I said, well, yeah, actually, it does. It's not listed on there, but it does come with the specialized tampon Tampax.
There we go.
And if you act
now,
and
you get these tampons, but you also get the special PopCon Harris Walz edition. Tampon 10.
That's great. I love these.
So you can I actually made this one right here. This is my artwork here. Look, I realized that he looked a whole lot like Mr. Garrison from South Park, and so, but yeah, so he's got on his shirt here, which you cannot see. Instead of saying National Guard, it does say National Guard, but it's spelled NASHUNALGARD.
Oh my gosh, he's
if
just
you don't
something
find
else.
that funny, you might live in Minnesota.
Right. Get a life.
And he said he was a coach too. He said he was a coach.
Yeah.
But we found that to be just nothing but Friday Night Lies.
Oh my goodness.
But
I mean,
don't worry.
Can I just say something?
Yeah,
sure you can.
I think the left, like, they always are ugly people.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Do you remember I used to call him Elmer Fudd? Who was it? Rich, do you remember?
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Tim looks a whole lot like Elmer Fudd. If you just
oh my gosh. What was his
He's
name? He
102.
was from Massachusetts.
Yep.
Tim
I
kind of
can't
looks like
remember who it
Barney
was.
Franks.
Barney Frank, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Barney
I
Frank.
used to call him Elmer Fudd. And you got
Barney
Bernie
Frank.
Sanders.
But look at
Oh,
Tim Walz'
Bernie.
face. It's just like just put the hunter's hat on him and be like, shh. Be
Be
quiet.
quiet.
And the
I'm
big
hunting
gun.
wabbits.
I'm hunting. It's a wabbit season.
I'm telling you, I just have to say that because like I don't know. Everybody that they put up is not pretty or handsome. I'm just saying.
I'm not for sure what happened to Kamala. I don't know because I don't have any pictures of it. But here recently, her neck has just been like collapsing in on itself. It's really
What is
weird.
that?
Like really leathery looking, like
Creepy,
snake-like.
weird.
Gobble, 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 gobble. Gobble, 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 gobble.
Yeah, just
Gobble, 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 gobble.
He was rich.
Trying to get a word in.
Her neck was smooth. She had like a normal. She had a normal looking neck, and maybe it was well lubricated. But yeah, maybe there's just been too much nanny action going on with her husband, and so it's just dried up now, and it's all becoming a snake neck. Anyway, back to Tim Walz. This is this guy's got more hair than Tim, but you know. Hi, I'm Tim Walz. I'm here to refill the tampon dispenser in the men's room.
Yep.
Did you know that Tim and Kamala have a new movie coming out?
What is it?
Dumb
I
and
did
Dumber.
not know that.
Yeah, look at that. If each of them only had half a brain, they'd still only have half a brain.
Exactly.
And then in Tim's home state, someone actually went through during the Minnesota State Fair, and they made a Never Walz stand.
It was his family members
selling T-shirts.
No, his family members were in Arizona.
Yeah.
I thought his family members were there.
No, but they were selling these fantastic T-shirts that say Never Walz on them, and
Never Walz.
And they also had Never Surrender with Trump on it. You know, much like our DJT fight shirt that we have.
Yeah.
And they also had this wheel. If you can't see it here, I'm gonna zoom in on it real quick. They have so you could actually turn the wheel. It says burning Minneapolis, mask mandate, tampons in boys' bathrooms, small businesses crushed, child trans surgeries, stolen valor. You could win if you say Never Walz. It's a little thin red. COVID snitch line, because he did have a snitch line you could call in and get your neighbor shot up with the paintballs, and then you also had tax increases. So yeah,
why don't we highlight these things and things like I don't know, the debate that just happened.
Right, I was waiting for
just
things to
saying.
come up. I was waiting for those things to come up, but it was just never brought up. I thought JD was very classy.
Yeah,
in the fact that he didn't bring up those things. But I also I'm kind of saddened at the fact that he didn't bring those things up. Yeah, it could have.
Again, he was on the defense too much. He did well.
Yeah.
But they put him on the defense.
Much better than Trump, honestly. But also he was dealing with a 3-on-1 once again, a few different points, not the whole debate, to be fair, not the whole debate, but quite a bit of the debate. He was dealing with a 3-on-1. He didn't let.
But I think he stood his ground a lot better.
Stood his ground well. His emotions stayed on point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he did really well.
Yeah. And I know that people are going to watch this back on replay. So if they make it this far, I just want to share to them. They can go to revolverbroadcasting.com, check out all the shows that we offer.
.com.
You're like, get this familiar face right here, Faith, Family, and Politics host. That's me. All the month of October is going to be hosted by ladies. Crystal's going to be doing that. Speaking of Crystal,
that's a nice looking lady there. Ooh-wee. I have to check her show out.
Kind of a teacher, librarian, something or other.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Like that.
With red lips.
Got it bad. I'm hot for teacher.
And if you want to get into some theology, you want to go over to the It Makes Sense podcast with Danny Tippett. Hopefully we get some new episodes out of him in the new year. But in the short term, you guys can go back and watch the episodes that he currently has available. That's why Christian living makes the most sense in the world today. And you have The Laughing Libertarian, hosted by Alan McFarland. As you know, you regularly see him on quite a few of our programs. You have Workout with Jesus.
Comment.
Yeah, you have Workout with Jesus dudes with Sterling as the host. Hopefully we're going to reboot that here soon and get some more episodes out there for you guys. A few shots where we take a look at political things happening, and we take a few shots, metaphorically speaking, at these political. I have to say that. I have to make sure that I say it metaphorically speaking. We're not trying to be John Wilkes Poofs over here.
John Wilkes.
But yeah, we talk about the political things, and we react to them, and then go a little bit further down and get a lot of people's favorite show that we have with Revolver Reacts, where we react to music videos, pop culture things, and just basic things that are out there in the stratosphere. It's a whole lot of fun. And then while you're there, you can also click on our shop, so you can check out. If it pulls up here, go to our shop and you'll actually see our new Cat Lives Matter shirt. A whole lot of fun there because they're eating the dogs. They're eating the
cats.
You have the "Don't Chew on Me" shirt. Looks a lot like the Gadsden flag. Mutts for Trump. That's Crystal's
my favorite one. The Mutts for Trump.
We have to explain why, though.
Go ahead.
Because I had my DNA done. And I am just a total mixture of so many different just a total mutt. And so then I thought, the left is always pushing diversity and inclusion, and they accuse the right of not having any. And so the whole point of Mutts for Trump is we're all mutts. I challenge anybody to show me anybody who has pure blood of anything nowadays. So it's our in your face back to the left saying we are actually very diverse and inclusive on the right because we're all a bunch of mutts. So go mutts.
Yeah, and pretty great price point there too. Only $21.99. That's pretty great for a t-shirt, Bella Canvas t-shirt, by the way. So very nice, very comfortable t-shirts. And then we also have
the revolver. Revolver.
Yep, like Rich is sporting there. The Revolver t-shirt. You got the Hot Shots hat like I got on. Got the real Ghost Rider here, which is Jesus on a motorcycle with some flames behind him. And we flip it over to the back here. We've got a verse from 2 Corinthians. Now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. I love it. That was the brainchild of our good friend, the perfect producer, Sterling. We talked about JD Vance tonight because we had him in the debate. They said that JD Vance was weird, so we had the GOP is weird t-shirt. So you guys make sure that you're sporting your weird pride there. Let them know that we don't mind being weird. It's cool. We'll take it. And get the Trumpomania shirt.
Weird pride.
Yeah.
That's the new flag. Weird pride.
Yeah, I've been trying to get I sent a few emails to our provider about getting some flags, some custom flags. So I'm hopefully we may not get them till after the election, but hopefully we get some custom flags potentially here soon enough. But Trumpomania.
That's what we could do during Pride Month. We can fly a weird flag.
We're weird. We happen to be straight.
We're weird.
And proud of it.
We're weird. We believe that there's only two genders, and we like the opposite of ourselves.
Yeah.
What do they got over there? I want that because it's not what I don't want.
I
this
want to
one.
be that.
Josh, a pole in a hole. That's all I'm going to say. A pole in a hole.
I don't like what I got. I like what my wife's got. I like it for 20 years.
I mean,
Oh, you lost me there.
There's that Trump fight shirt we were talking about. Just Jake's fight shirt, as you know, after the assassination attempt, Trump put his fist in the air and said, "Fight, fight, fight." So we've got the Trump fight shirt.
yes.
We have the agenda with Crystal Rosati. It comes in all kinds of different colors and styles. You can
Pink
get
is not my color, by the way. Red is, orange is.
There's a lot of ladies out there,
just modeling them. You know, if you're a pink girl, get a pink shirt. No problem with that. It all spends the same.
Baby blue and purple and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I like the sticker.
Yeah, that's the Cat Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Sticker. You can also get it in a sticker. Yep.
I might have to get that because I got some stickers I need to replace on my truck. I might have to get one of those.
It also comes in a coffee mug for some of the young ladies out there if they like their hoodies to be cropped. It's a kind of a thing now, I guess. But we have the Cat Lives Matter available in the crop hoodie as well. And of course the Trump House Rock, which Crystal has one of those.
I do.
Where Trump is taking the place of Donald Trump.
Thank you.
Taking the place of Elvis, you mean?
Yeah, Elvis says it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And a few other things, a few other styles and things that we've got on our website. Just go over there and check it out. I don't want to drone on. Just maybe I've already done it too long, but also while you're on our website, you can check out our news chambers as well. You can see really great devotionals by our good friend Danny Tippett, news stories from me, exhortations from me, and even a poem that I wrote, "To America from a Christian." So
mine never made it on there.
we're gonna have to check that out. We have to figure that out. Because we want your news stories and all the things that you're writing, Crystal, to go on there for sure. I'm not for sure what's going on there. There's been quite a few glitches with our web provider. And we also have our
Satan.
Friends
Satan's trying to stop us.
Yeah. There's a lot of glitches out there. In the Friends of Revolver tab, we'll show you some of the people that we have good friendships and relationships with. There's a few missing from there, but we're still trying to work that out as well. Like I said, glitches. We're dealing with them, and that is what that is. But make sure you go to check out revolverbroadcasting.com because we got a lot of things over there, and make sure that you're not only doing that, but going to our either if you're here on Rumble, if you're on YouTube, if you happen to be a hot shot, that'd be great. If you're really great, if you're a hot shot, because that $5 a month goes right back into everything that we're doing.
I just signed up while we were on this.
Nice.
What?
I wasn't on it.
We have a hot shot. Now we got to create content just for you. No, there are two more hot shots that have signed up, so you'll be one of three people so far. But the more hot shots we get, the that money, like I said, will go right back into all this content just for you guys.
Yep.
And make sure that, like I said, you're subscribing, that you're commenting on this stuff, because commenting that pushes it right through the algorithm. And make sure you're liking this content, as that helps as well, get us through the algorithm. And remember to share this content, because when you share, what is it, Rich?
Because sharing is caring.
And he froze up. Oh,
so magical. So magical. Try it again.
The sharing is caring.
Hey, did it work that time? So magical.
Look, I mean, it still works in Detroit.
At a distance. Trying to get the doggy in there.
I'm trying to.
Sheba. There she's in, puppy.
She's not gonna get in the right spot. Come here.
Journey happens to be down here with me, but she's just laying on her she's got her bed over here beside the desk here, and she's chilling. So
you see Daddy? There's Daddy.
Sheba.
I think we're going to.
She's just pacing. Also,
yes.
We need everybody to share this because we need everybody to subscribe because we just hit 1,000 subscribers and we're trying to go for 2,000. We need more subscribers.
And if you can, just like go through and view the whole video. Like if you can, there's Journey. She's showing up a little bit there. She heard me talking about it, so she had to come over a little bit. But yeah, make sure you're watching the whole video. That also helps the algorithm and it gets us. We have these view hours that we got to hit. And it's a whole hot mess. But if you can, just let it play in the background and while you're cooking dinner or cleaning house or whatever, because that'll really help us out. And well, you'll get some great content in the meantime.
And special thank you to everybody who tuned in with us.
Yes.
And all of those who are watching on replay and living through the replay without being able to actually talk directly to us, because we actually had opened the floor, Rich and I, at the top of the show for Ask Us Anything. And we had a few responses, a couple of them kind of silly, but we had a few responses that were actually really good. And, but yeah, I want to close this out with, and again, stick around, Crystal, because after the stream, because I want to talk to you a little bit. But I'm going to close the stream with Mr. Dunn and what he thought about the assassination attempt. The first one, to specify. So sad.
I know. Too many.
All the conspiracy theories come out around it too. I don't know what to believe. All I do know is that if our government tried to do an assassination attempt, that's kind of how it would look. Right? It was very inefficient.
I can't hear it.
That was the DMV of assassination attempt. It's not good. They had a very small budget, you could tell. They wanted to do it with a grassy knoll at a parade like they were used to. Like, we can't swing that. We got to do a tin roof.
You can't hear it at all?
I couldn't hear it.
Huh. That's weird.
I could.
I heard her. I heard you, but I couldn't hear the.
Well, it's going to start the video over now. So
operator error.
Hey,
it has to be, because if we're both hearing it.
I mean.
All right, we're gonna let you got to hear it earlier, Rich. So
yeah,
it's only a couple minutes. So all right, let Crystal hear it.
All the conspiracy theories come out around it too. I don't know what to believe. All I do know is that if our government tried to do an assassination attempt, that's kind of how it would look. Right? It was very inefficient. That was the DMV of assassination attempt. It's not good. They had a very small budget, you could tell. They wanted to do it with a grassy knoll at a parade like they were used to. They're like, we can't swing that. We got to do a tin roof at a town fair. That's all we got. Can't get any ex-military people to take the shot. Let's get the kid who came in last place on his marksman team. That apparently high schools have marksman teams. I've never tried it. Dude, that was just one big government block of cheese. Like, that's all that was. It was insane. I was hoping Trump was going to come out the same day, ear still bleeding, and do the press conference. They tried to shoot me. They tried to shoot me. They were too slow, and I'm too fast. I dodged the bullet. They didn't even see it. I saw it coming from so far away. It was like the Matrix. It was all in slow motion. Call me Neo. I'm the chosen one. They say he was a Republican. That's what they'll tell you. They'll say he was a Republican that shot, but I'll tell you right now, he shoots like a liberal. I'll tell you that. He shoots like a liberal. Not straight. So not straight. They said it was a fake bullet. That's what they said. It was a real bullet. We found the bullets. Turns out the bullets, they were made in China. That's where they were made. They were little teeny tiny Chinese bullets. So small, so tiny. I shot the guy back. They cut the cameras. They didn't show you that. It was me who shot him. I pulled out my Glock and I shot him right in the fucking face. That's what It's crazy.
That was great.
Oh yeah, Mr. Dunn there. I'm gonna end the stream so that those folks who are out there watching, thank you for joining us. Looks like a few people have actually hopped into the stream here at the end. So as soon as this ends, you'll be able to actually go back and rewind and watch the whole thing from beginning to end. You can even fast forward and flip flop through the whole thing. So we'll see you guys later. Crystal Rich, I'll talk to you here in the post show.
Bye, babe.
Bye.